The Anglican Church, you say the second Sunday after Advent.
Yes.
So it's the first Wednesday after
the first Wednesday
Jamhuri.
after Jamhuri, before schools open.
Okay.
It's in that period.
Okay.
Jamhuri Day and schools opening, where nothing really is sure.
Everything just morphs into everything
You've
else.
seen those memes that are saying, as you're going out to buy bread, make sure you're fully dressed.
You might end up in Naivasha.
You're
With your friends.
stepping out of the house like this, let me just go and buy a matchbox there. Make sure you're fully dressed.
Somebody would just come, hey, Eric, Nyaje, poor. Let's just go down the road. Coming back. Naivasha on Sunday.
and before you know it, you're working for someone
Yes.
as house help.
I'll work for food.
And before you know it, you're scrubbing all floors and feeding the pets.
No, this is one of those where it's not a tier negative one, where you've been kidnapped.
No,
you
this
have
one is
just
good.
basically just found yourself there swimming with the dolphins. And you're like,
No.
Are we still in Kenya?
What day is it?
What is it?
That story of the kidnapping, I particularly liked it.
Why?
TT? Why?
When someone treats you to the saga of something that seems quite improbable, even when as you listen to it, is it not exciting? Because essentially what we've done, we've taken a trip to the Twilight Zone.
First class ticket.
Hiya. Welcome to the show, everybody. We have a lot to discuss today. What's happened in Msambweni? Was it the litmus test?
Did anybody fail the test?
Well, no. What it did was it gave the media, us, an opportunity to do our thing and to play out the rivalry that we helped create between Raila Odinga and remember, in our discussions now, President Uhuru Kenyatta is actually a bystander. He's like an observer to the whole goings on. So now, this one is an opportunity for that particular narrative to play out even more.
Kabisa.
Especially when you have allegations of bribery thrown in, an element of violence. It's like an action movie. Made in Msambweni.
Yes. Faisal Badr and Omar Boga. We'll also need to talk to Tom Wolf.
Seeing as
See all those things that
the
you said-
polls
it's-
indicated...
It's possible that the people who are saying were lying. It's possible that people will not even turn up to vote the way they're claiming that they'll turn up to vote. It's possible. Very many things are possible. So now let's just work with the other possibilities.
You see, if you ask someone who belongs to whichever party they do, the perspective they'll give you has to be positive to their leaning. The objectivity here is left to us. Are we able to be objective about this and look at the reality? But if you look at the forces that each opposing party sent to Msambweni, they clearly took this contest seriously.
It was serious.
Yes. They
Everybody
did.
was down there, man.
Yes, even people who didn't know where Msambweni was.
Yeah, they found themselves there.
Now they know where Msambweni is.
Now they do.
Oh, yes, they do.
Yep. So we'll look at that. We will look at, leadership as well, just off the back of what we were discussing yesterday with regards to the public conduct of elected officers, elected officials. So we'll have that conversation again and a lot more. Somalia, Kenya, Somaliland, Ethiopia, Kenya,
Puntland,
Jubaland, and all those.
and all those lands.
And all those lands, and now the reported massing of troops in Mandera, and a fugitive who is allegedly being sheltered in Kenya. Anyway, a Kenyan has even received a COVID-19 jab in the US. But in the country, we are asking ourselves whether 2025 or 2030. It's a vision 2030 to get a COVID-19 jab. But what are the numbers looking like?
Okay, so let's look at the numbers around the world. Now we are looking at global figures of 73,803,320. Those are the COVID-19 cases globally. 51,813,957 have recovered. Okay. Yes, we see. Excuse me. The US has crossed the 17 million mark. They were teetering on that yesterday. Crossed that mark, and numbers still continue to rise. Numbers continue to rise in the UK, specifically, where they had also recorded cases of 18,300 just yesterday, and around about 800 deaths. This was just yesterday. Let's look at Kenya. 404 cases, I believe, is what was found yesterday. I'm just going to check on that quickly. Yes, I believe it was 404. Taking Kenya's numbers to 92,459. So reported yesterday was 404 new cases and 11 new deaths. So inching closer and closer by the day to 100,000 cases in Kenya. And it's interesting because now looking at reports, hospitals lack capacity to fight rising COVID-19 cases. This is a report that's taken out today. The average score of level 6 hospitals is just 65%, according to a study that was done. Public hospitals in Kenya lack capacity and personnel. I mean, yes, now we're looking at the strike by nurses and clinical officers and the impending strike by doctors come the 21st of December. So now this is in light of the rapidly increasing cases of coronavirus and sustaining the universal health coverage. This is a new report by the Ministry of Health. Okay, they are the ones who are telling us now that some 1,887 hospitals of all levels were assessed between September and October by a team comprising of 152 officers from the Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Council. So they're saying that human resource is low. There's inadequacy and deficits in staffing. According to the study, level 2 and 3 hospitals have been between 15 and 25% of the required personnel, which is what they have, which is quite
This
daunting.
study was conducted before the strikes.
Yes. This study was conducted before the strikes, and they're saying that they had between 15 to 25% of the required personnel, while level 4 and 6 staffing ranges upwards of 40%. So nobody is even operating at 80%.
Or 50.
Yeah, so they're saying 40 and above. Now, we don't know where this threshold ends.
If
but
level 6s are at 60, you just said level 6 are at 65. Or?
No, we're looking at level 2 and 3 between 15 and 25. 4 to 6 ranges between, they're saying 4 to 6 ranges upwards of 40%.
Yeah, but above that, you had mentioned something about 60-something% for the level 6s. We only have how many level 6s?
So more than 60%, more than 60% of the level 4 hospitals cannot meet staffing requirements.
Yeah.
So they're saying it's a worrying trend for the Ministry of Health, because with the rising levels of COVID-19 in the country, hospitals lack the capacity to fight COVID-19.
Hospitals lacked the capacity to do what they're supposed to do long before COVID.
Yeah.
COVID simply exacerbated the situation and shone a very bright light at the underbelly. That's what COVID did.
And imagine now we are talking of this after hiring 1,000 medical workers during COVID.
Let me give you some numbers, right? What the public hospitals require. 1,187 is the number of hospitals that were assessed by the Ministry of Health. 114, the least number of workers at a level 3 hospital should have. Right? That's what they should have at the very least, according to the HR norms. 80 is the least number of worker cadres expected at a level 4 hospital. Many have far less, 1,469. The least number of workers that a level 6 hospital should have, according to the Ministry of Health. 35, the highest percentage that level 4 hospitals meet in the prescribed norms. Can you believe it? 35, that's the highest number that they reach, percent. And remember, percent is out of 100. So, 60, the percentage of level 6 hospitals unable, that's more than 50%, unable to meet their staffing requirements.
60% of level 6 hospitals are
unable.
We only have 4 level 6 hospitals, or is it not? How many level 6 hospitals do we have in the country?
Yes, so
KNH, MTRH, KUTRH, and the annex in Othaya, Wales.
So if you have 4, you're looking at 2 plus. So 2.5 of those 4 are not able to meet. Even that, they cannot. So now with COVID, things are even worse.
Well, talking of COVID, You know, one of the things that we have mentioned in this show time and again is the reality that when you have a new pandemic such as COVID-19, there will be a great deal that we'll be striving to know. There'll be things we know, but there'll be also a great deal that we do not know. And this will keep changing. And even the measures that have been taken and have been held as the standard by which we should function with regards to this pandemic will change, and WHO will change that position as new findings come in. For instance, remember the infections about surfaces holding the virus? You know, that discussion has changed completely. And what is becoming more and more apparent is that the way in which the virus really spreads is through the air. Yes. And enclosed
spaces.
Yes.
Speaking of enclosed spaces, 17 boys isolated after testing positive for the virus. 17 students at Ngumo Secondary School in Makueni County tested positive for coronavirus, and our friend County Health Executive Andrew Mulwa yesterday said the new cases were being reported in government offices, correctional centres, police cells and learning institutions, and we see 17 coming out of a learning institution. The latest patients are 17 boys that were traced after coming in contact with another student who had been confirmed to have the virus. They've been isolated at the school and have been made to board in order to stop the virus from spreading. And they want to extend contact tracing throughout beyond the school as well, as this is a day school. And so now they've made them board. Day scholars have been made to board in order to stop the virus from spreading. So those who are going home on a regular now have been asked to stay in school, and now they're trying to work on contact tracing for those who had gone home previously. So they're urging residents of Makueni to follow and strictly follow the Ministry of Health guidelines and protocols on containing the spread of the virus ahead of Christmas and New Year festivities.
Okay.
I don't understand that logic, though.
What?
Why? Which
that
one?
You keep children in boarding school.
Who had previously gone home already?
Yes,
Yeah.
to prevent the spread of the virus. I don't.
To prevent further spread. It's isolation. It's a whole concept of isolation.
Yes.
When you find somebody is COVID positive, what do? You isolate them. So what do you do, and where do you isolate them?
But in boarding schools, where is the isolation exactly?
In the dorms.
In the dorms.
Really?
Yeah.
And in the classrooms? And in the interactions?
So probably those ones are also being observed.
They're not going to class.
Why I'm arguing this way is because they don't say so. When you leave it that open, it raises more questions than it provides answers. Because at some point, those schools are going to close, are they not? And at some
On the
point,
23rd.
those children are going to go home, are they not?
On the 23rd.
Yeah,
so
precisely.
It's a week
And
from
then-
today.
Anyway,
Let's take a break. 16 minutes after 6. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room, wherever you are. Live streaming on Spice FM, KE, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Are you in the country? Are you overseas? Let us know wherever you are, and then we will say good morning to you. Let's take a look at the weather shortly.
24/7 around the world, non-stop. This is Spice FM.
It has been a tough year for your business, hasn't it? But you hung in there. You pressed on. You persevered. And now it's time to rise up. It's time to get ready, to get going, to get selling. And Google is here to help you rise up. Get free training and tools to help your businesses adapt and grow online. Visit g.co/Grow Africa to start now.
Next week on The Great Kenyan Bake Off.
Thank you.
It's the final.
All right, let's do this.
My hands are not shaking right now.
Hopefully, nothing goes wrong today.
Our last 3 intrepid bakers will have to bring out their absolute A
You
game.
ready for some smoke?
Watch as they
Ooh.
battle it out in a technical that really challenges their skills, and a showstopper that will push their creativity to the limit. Don't miss the drama as we find out who will be crowned Kenya's next top amateur baker.
And the winner is...
The Great Kenyan Bake Off, brought to you by Unga Limited, inspiring a nation to bake.
In the face of COVID-19, life has been adversely affected, with nearly all schools in Kenya lacking basic hand washing facilities affecting more than 19 million children. Together with Davis and Shartleaf and True Black, we, the Standard Group, have partnered to collectively unite other corporates and individuals to join the initiative towards setting up basic sanitation facilities around the country. For more information, send an SMS to the short code 40616 or email standwithkenya@standardmedia.co.ke. Time to come together for tomorrow. It's our future. A partnership by Davis and Shartleaf and True Black and the Standard Group.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise.
You're listening to Spice FM.
All right, 17 degrees clear skies in Nairobi,
Nope.
highs of 27 and lows of 16. 14 degrees this morning and clear in Nakuru, highs of 26 today. Mostly clear conditions in Nyeri, 13 at the moment, coming to highs of 25. It's warming up slightly in Eldoret this morning, 11 degrees and clear at the moment, highs of 24 throughout the day. And mostly clear conditions in Kisumu at 20, going to highs of 29. Mostly clear in Kakamega, 16 degrees, the highs will be 31. It's raining this morning in Mombasa at 26, highs of 31 and lows of 25. Clear conditions in Malindi at 17, the high will be 30 today. Out of Kenya into Kampala, it's mostly clear at 20, highs of 27 and lows of 18. It's partly cloudy in Dar es Salaam at 26, highs of 31, and Johannesburg at 15 degrees. Clear conditions at the moment, highs of 22 throughout today, and then lows of 14. It's clear conditions in Lagos at 26, highs of 31 and lows of 24. Partly cloudy in Kinshasa at 25, highs of 30. Started off at -4 in Beijing today. Bitterly cold. The high will be 1 and lows of -9. Cloudy conditions in Paris at 7, highs of 11, and clear conditions in London at 10. See highs of 11 and lows of 9. And finally for now in New York, 2 degrees. Tuesday night, coming into Wednesday, see highs of 4 and lows of -3.
Spice FM. Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4.
10th day of December, the first Wednesday after Jamhuri Day. We're in that zone, okay? Wherever are you, in this country or in the world?
Oh, right. So Omwana Omogire says hello from Kisii County and is locked in this morning. Millie David's locked. Mambo Leo from Kisumu. Rogers Lai tuned in from County 001. Eric, you know where that is?
001. Yeah.
Okay. Waterman Jeffrey, good morning, guys. Tuned in. And Nyeri's tuned in from Alex Mbogo. He's watching live from Kisumu Kibos, and that's Jeffrey Mochama. Abu Mashar Issa. Morning, guys. Concerning Msambweni issue, any candidate allied to ODM and Joho is bound to fail. Okay, there's a way to start off the morning. Harold Ayodo is tuning from South Sea this morning and says it's a new day. Yesterday's failure is redeemed at the sunrise. Have a productive day.
Yeah.
Lawrence Carrier, good morning. And he's calling CT an early bird today.
And you the worm.
And the worm.
Are you the worm?
Who?
You.
If it's tequila. Okay. Robin Bogo says, good morning. Tuned in from Mombasa. Stephen Ochen is tuned in while listening with his wife, Amani Abayo. Ainley Steve, good morning. Good morning. And Soloware, another day for bloody blithering idiots, he said. And that's BBI. Either you support it or you're sensible. There, I've said it. Mwalala Mwakichilu El Haj says, good morning. Spicing it up. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. Has our train driver started the engine?
Yes, and he has also said he's gotten on the train today, but he says this is the period where one calls you, it's either you receive and wear your shoes or just cancel the call. Good morning, Shirage. This is that period.
You get that, City? Don't just pick any calls. Someone calls you, City, uko wapi? I'm outside here, just come. My friend.
I still haven't got it.
Vaa viatu na uvae jacket ile mzito.
Don't just go like that.
You'll find yourself, you went there to see someone, then you went to see someone else.
And they said, let's just go here.
Let's just drive down here. Then you drive down there, you wake up in the morning and you're seeing Mount Kenya.
Okay. All right.
In the distance.
Okay.
And you're wondering, so
Right.
where are we?
Okay.
And how did I get here?
Okay. And it's only Mount Kenya, not Kilimanjaro, not Ngong Hills.
The following day, you may actually be looking at Mount Kilimanjaro from the other side.
Right.
And you're being
Let
served
me-
breakfast by someone who's telling you, "Hujambo habari asubuhi."
For the sake of peace, love, and unity, I will say I understand, but I still understand nothing.
Okay, see, it's the period where. Okay, never mind. There's a guy from Elburgon. His name is John. He knows these things.
John from Elbagon.
Yes.
He'll explain to you, City.
Okay.
He may call you. Let's look at today's proverb.
Right. An elephant does not limp when walking on thorns.
How do you know it's not limping?
Let me repeat it. I get the impression you didn't hear it, even as you're facing Mount Kilimanjaro. An elephant does not limp when walking on thorns.
thorns.
Yes, this particular saying is attributed to the Ethiopians.
Okay. Which ones?
Which
The
Ethiopian?
Oromo, the Tigrayans.
It is
Amaras.
Ethiopians.
Which?
I said, City said no. It's the Ethiopians.
Yes.
No, it's the Ethiopians.
Why are you trying to be specific when I have actually gone out of my way not to be?
No.
At
He has
Turkey.
refused.
No,
But it's
not
the
Ethiopians.
Okay, let's look at the headlines. So, Musambweni, provisional results that are coming out so far indicate that independent candidate Faisal Abdallah Badr has clinched it, 15,251, followed by Omar Boga of ODM with 10,444. Then the others got less than 1,000 each. Sheikh Mahmoud of Wiper, 790. Hamisi Mwakonje of UGM, 230. Morero Mochai, 300. Coming all the way down to Mansur Kumaka Abdurrahman of an independent candidate who got 38 votes. This is as late as about 4 a.m. out of 129 out of 129 polling centers. Provisional results indicate that it has gone to the independent candidate.
Good
This
for him.
independent candidate is the one that was being campaigned for by the governor of Kwale County, Salim Mvurya, and also being supported by allies of the Deputy President William Ruto, who were down there in large numbers yesterday.
So the litmus test has been litmus.
Just done.
Has been litmus.
Yes.
It has turned white litmus paper blue.
Right. Provisional results.
Yep.
Let's wait for the official outcome, shall we?
Now, these provisional results are not actually people counting themselves. It's what was being announced
By the IEBC.
by the IEBC. Just that not
Official yet.
the formal declaration by the returning officer. So it's like that. Now, what happened in the day yesterday? Full drama from one area to the other. All a number of members of parliament who had gone to and even senators who had gone to Msambweni. Those who are on the side of the deputy president from the coast and other areas who were there. Those who are supporters of ODM, led by the governor of Mombasa County, Ali Hassan Joho, and others who were there. And then there were clashes. Msambweni, day of chaos, arrests and bribery claims. That's a headline in the Nation. The Standard, Ruto Raila rivalry rocks Msambweni. Yeah, Ruto Raila rivalry rocks Msambweni.
How's that for alliteration this morning?
Right. Violence and claims of bribery marm Msambweni by elections as allies of Deputy President and ODM boss face off. The former senator and MP arrested. This is the former Machako senator arrested and an MP arrested. Handshake politics plays out on the polling day. And there are photos here of, for example, there's a very nice photo. No, okay, not really. There's a photo here of this senator, former Senator Johnson Mudama, sandwiched in a police vehicle between two police officers as he and which other MP was arrested? Nelson Koech of Belgut and another man identified as John Carrier, who is not the MP that we know, John Carrier. They were arrested and they were driven 55 kilometers from Sambweni to Mombasa, where they were.
Can you imagine?
Port police station.
There's no other police station between Sambweni and Mombasa that they could have been.
Not even Ukunda.
That they could have, not even Ukunda. That they could have been detained at. It had to be the port police station in Mombasa.
And then when they got there, they were being interrogated by anti-terror police.
Well, they're the ones who on duty.
This is stuff the movies are made of, man. Titi said. No, you missed what Titi said. What did you say?
They're the ones who are on duty.
They're the only ones that were available at that
On
time.
duty,
Yeah,
yes. And
others had been deployed to
elsewhere,
somewhere.
yes. And they're the ones who are guarding the port against terrorists.
Yeah.
So if you...
If you find yourself
they're the ones who are going to interrogate you. After all, they are policemen and women.
That was one drama. And then there was also now the drama of supporters of Mombasa Governor Ali Hassan Joho and the Lunga Lunga MP Mwashetani clashing at Jomo Kenyatta Primary School over claims of bribery of voters. The Lunga Lunga MP suffered minor injuries after irate youths accosted him, claiming he was bribing voters. Human rights activists and election observers criticized security personnel for alleged selective action against leaders and constituents. Omar Boga, who cast his vote at the Jogoo grounds in Bongwe Gambato ward at 8, exuded confidence that he would win the election, but he was accusing his opponents of causing confusion in his strongholds to disrupt voter turnout. I know their tactics, these people. Their people from Sambweni are peaceful and we shall not agree to be used. There was scuffle after scuffle. At some point, Nyali MP, you know him, Muhammad Ali, and activist Mghandi Khalinga were being accused of causing fracas at Moroni polling center in Bongwe Gumbato ward. They roughed up an ODM agent and took his phone after accusing him of bribing voters. Then there's Mvita MP Abdul Swamad Nasir, who was campaigning for the ODM candidate, was engaged in a heated argument with the Nyali MP, almost degenerating into a physical fight. Drama upon drama. That was what was happening yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Political contests. You know, even if the ODM candidate won, even if the independent candidate won, even if the National Party of Kenya candidate won, even if the Vision of Kenya candidate won, the question that should be asked is, did the people of Msambweni win? Is this the person that the people of Msambweni wanted to lead them at the end of the day? The drama, yes.
If they voted for him, unless there's an allegation somewhere.
No,
here.
I am saying that it doesn't matter. What we're discussing here matters insofar as it's a discussion. But if the people of Msambweni voted for someone, then that is a good thing. That is the person that they wanted to lead them.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's their choice.
That is what I'm saying. It doesn't really matter what party affiliation that particular individual has.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
They've made their choice.
They've made their choice.
Hope it's the right choice for them as the person who is going to lead them. Remember when we were having a conversation with the research at Home Wolf and some of the comments that were coming in? I remember someone commenting and saying that this is a man, Faisal, who appeared to be one very much in touch with the ground and knowing exactly what people need and having interacted very well with people. Let's hope that whatever happens. Governor Kivutha Kibwana tweeted this morning at 6:20, and he says, Baba, Raila and the ODM party were prophetic. Msambweni was a test run for the BBI vote. Kenya is saying no to forced referendum. Wiper was collateral damage. Wiped clean.
Wow.
Tick to Q1 out of 78. Baba, the people are marching themselves to Canaan. They got tired of empty promises. Hey, commentary up there. 28 minutes to 7. Time for a break. Time to look at traffic, and then we look at other headlines. Good morning.
Spice FM.
It's getting hot in here.
Oh, everybody steals. It's better a thief who brings something small back. And I say to myself, there's no better thief. A thief is a thief, period.
All those bribes, how much they're getting per year, how much inconvenience they are causing. As much as you call it a small case, it's worth it to be convicted.
The truth is, we are a tribal nation. Because if we were not tribal, and I want to go back to this, you cannot continue walking around with a mug which is clean outside and it's rotten inside.
We have become a fuliza country. We have mortgaged our country because of debt.
You've got one chef working and the assistant chef wakati anatakana koroge unga nini hayuko.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. 24/7 around the world, non-stop. This is Spice FM.
Hakuna. There's no traffic this morning. It would appear that everybody is
facing Mount Kenya.
People left yesterday without their shoes and jacket, and have left the city, or at least are leaving. So Mombasa Road looking pretty good. It's building up, but flowing quite smoothly, and nobody's really complaining about anything. Even the Pangani underpass from Thika Road getting to the CBD is flowing very well. It's not a bumper to bumper situation at all. Around the city, traffic is moving very, very well this morning. It might still be early pickings, but we'll have a look in about half hour and see what that looks like. But for now, looking pretty good. You run into something that we should know, don't hesitate to let us know. Spice FMKE on Twitter or text on 40127.
Spice FM, Malindi. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Other headlines.
So,
Right.
Sosion must go.
Which Sosion?
Wilson.
Guy, where?
Go where? Let's find out where. According to Kenya National Union of Teachers branch officials, Secretary General Wilson Sosion now faces a rebellion from his juniors who want him barred from seeking re-election in polls due next year. At least 90 out of the 110 KNUT branch secretaries want Mr. Sosion blocked from vying in union elections, arguing that he is not eligible since he has been struck off the teachers' register by his employer being the Teacher Service Commission. The branch officials, in a letter dated December 15th, addressed to President Kenyatta and Labour Cabinet Secretary Simon Chelugui. I can never say that name properly.
Chelugui.
Thank you. Says Mr. Sosion was deregistered as a teacher by the Teacher Service Commission, and therefore he is not in a position to lead the union.
So they are writing to the president.
Yes. To say this cannot be done. I mean, it's not possible. TSC has deregistered him. He's no longer a member of the union, according to them.
So where does the president come in?
Higher power. It's like now your boss annoys me, you go and pray to God.
That I can see.
Yeah? Now, they accuse him of several things. They say one of them is dictatorship, saying that he unilaterally suspended the union's constitution and blame his confrontational leadership style for falling and failing fortunes of the once giant union. The secretaries accuse him of suspending union organs such as annual meetings and the National Delegates Conference without consulting them. They want the Ministry of Labour to intervene in the management, including human resource, financial discipline, and liaisons that are relevant to the union's cause. Sosion announced that the elections will be held from January 4th to March 31st next year at branch level and between April and June 2021 at the national level. He said he had issued an election timetable and asked branches to conduct free and fair elections. Anyone with issues should wait for the election. This is what he said. He was appointed by TSC in 1993, but thereafter freed him to KNUT upon his election as the Bomet branch secretary to serve on a full-time basis from June 1st, 2001. He went on and he was elected as the Secretary General and was re-elected on March 2016 for a 5-year term. However, his troubles began upon his nomination by ODM to the National Assembly as a Member of Parliament in August 2017. And then the TSC issued him a letter of termination from the 17th of January 2018. From then, he has had constant run-ins with his employer.
Essentially, what they're saying is they want to stop him from vying for that position again.
Yes.
It is a constitutional right, is it not?
You should not be allowed to
They're
vie.
saying that, he does not qualify to vie. For
Actually,
you to qualify as an official, then you must be a practicing
right,
teacher,
then
according to their constitution.
according to what they're saying, then he shouldn't even be in that position to begin with. Then.
Yep.
But this isn't the first onslaught this man has faced.
No.
There was one which he appeared to be even more serious not very long ago. And it went on and on and on. At the end of the day, he still remained the Secretary General of the Kenya National Union of Teachers. He also still remained an MP. And life has gone on. How different is this?
This one, let's see how it goes. Because, you see, what we've seen before, and now what we are seeing, this is issues of, first of all, there was that whole issue of him being deregistered and why he's being deregistered as a teacher. Does he no longer qualify to be a teacher? 1. 2, if you say 90 out of 110 branch secretaries want Sosion blocked from vying and doing all these things, these are very senior officials. These are branch secretaries.
Yes.
And if 90 of them are talking, then they don't need to be writing to the president and they're asking the labor ministry to intervene.
Don't they have the power to...
Yeah.
It would appear that there is a belief or thinking that because he's also in government, right, as a member of parliament, that he would have some influence in this decision. Yeah.
Being an MP, are you in government?
Not really.
No.
You're in a position of influence at that
Yes,
national.
you're in a position of influence, yes.
So now this is the thing. So for them to go to that point, it means that they're trying to tick all their boxes, right? And they're trying to say that wherever it could possibly be blocked from, they're trying to now cover all those bases. We go to the labor ministry. We go to the TSC. We go to anywhere that we could see arrows of blockage coming from. And now to cover everything, we write this letter to the president. So we can tell you what has been happening over time. We tell you the manner in which he has been running this boat, this ship, and we say we don't want any more. We just tell you exactly what has been going on. And your man here is not helping us in any way.
Look, if what they say is true and they have the groundswell support, just vote him out. Why do you need to go through all this drama?
Yeah.
If indeed 90 out of 110 of your branch leaders don't want this man.
If that's the situation on the ground,
Exactly.
then the election would prove that.
But yes, but this man was elected. He didn't appoint himself. So if he was elected, you see, the politics, somehow the 2022 politics is playing out in every sphere where people seem to need to be elected to hold certain positions. And this particular one, whatever took a break when there was an attempt to get Sosion out, I think has been resurrected and it has acquired new wings. Now, it is right to the president, talk to this, but let's see how it plays out. What I have seen to be true, Sosion is formidable. He is not a pushover. They are not going to suddenly kick a fuss and jump up and down and then out. He'll go. No, he won't.
So you're basically saying that this elephant is not limping.
This elephant is stepping on thorns and it is definitely not limping. However, while we're talking about, since he's a nominated member of parliament, let's talk about other members of parliament. Remember the 2 million shillings that was alleged to have been an illegal amount, total amount that was given to them via the avenue of, a house allowance. Okay? The courts, remember, ruled that the Parliamentary Service Commission had encroached on the SRC mandate by granting the MPs a house allowance of 250,000.
Yes.
And they directed that they should recover it over a year.
Yes.
Well, now the MPs are in court.
Of course they are.
And they are saying, this is what they're saying, that this immediate recovery, remember, it's over a year. It's being referred to here as immediate. Over a year isn't immediate, is it?
Immediate means we start now. And then from now, we go over the year.
That it will affect their well-being and output in parliament.
Really?
Well, that
Of course. Wait. What do you mean? How much is... Hey,
250K over a month, over a year is about, give or take,
All right.
So it's about 20-something thousand.
All right.
So, yeah.
Why don't I quote what Senior Counsel, Professor Tom Ojienda, had to say on this subject, because
he's a lawyer.
It appears so. Right. The judgment has immediate grave impacts on the independence of Parliament. How?
Yes.
As an arm of government, especially in view of the findings of the High Court in the impugned judgment that the SRC is empowered to cap the remunerable meetings of parliamentary committees. My jack on. The MP said through the senior...
Through the senior counsel. That's what it said next.
What has he said?
Yeah.
Do you understand it? You want me to read it again?
At the end of the day, they say...
Start with Your Honor.
Your Honor. The judgment has immediate grave impacts, not just one impact. It is plural, okay?
Right.
On the independence of Parliament as an arm of government. How on earth? Especially in view of the findings of the High Court in the impugned judgment that SRC is empowered to cap the remunerable meetings of Parliament committees.
In other words, when you're broke, can you think?
No. Okay. In other words, he has changed it is now...
There's more. There's more. Maybe actually, this actually shows you that in that judgment, there was a lot more, not just the issue of that allowance.
Yes.
Because we're also talking about capping the number of meetings that you can sit as committees.
Yes, and they're challenging that.
Remember what I was telling you? This is going to be a very easy way. Increase the number of committee meetings, meet, earn 250K extra, pay. But now, if that also comes in, that you're also being capped in how much you can earn from allowances, that means that you also cannot sit in many committee meetings unless you reduce the allowance per session.
Yes.
Meeting.
He went on further to say that the applicants, the MPs, are at pains and are apprehensive that the respondents, the SRC, may move for the immediate execution of the decree of the High Court to recover in full from the salaries and allowances of each MP. In full, meaning at once, mara moja.
Yeah.
Okay? However, on Tuesday.
Yesterday,
the bench of 3 judges directed clerks of both houses to recover the millions within 1 year after ruling that the house allowance was illegal.
Oh, so last week, Tuesday. Okay.
Yes, last week, not yesterday.
Okay.
How was it illegal?
How was what illegal?
Well, the courts have decided it was illegal.
Yes.
The Parliamentary Service Commission didn't have the mandate or the right to do what they did.
They didn't have the right or the mandate. They did not have
that now that it has its independence.
They did the job of the SRC, essentially.
You know, the thing is,
this
is what happens when things go to court. So are you saying that the courts cannot rule against an independent body?
Yeah.
Of course they can.
They can. But they can also appeal and say that judgment was erroneous.
My friend,
the judges erred in making
a 3-bench ruling. I want to see that thing going to the appeal. 3-bench tatu. Yeah. Every judge with their own bench.
Okay. Speaking about the trial.
Let's take this break. Okay. It's 14 minutes to 7. We are a 3-bench judge presenters in the studio this morning.
3-bench.
Yes. Time for a quick break. We'll be back shortly. Good morning.
24/7 around the world, non-stop. This is Spice FM.
Hii Krisi tukiwapea mtawezana. Star Times brings you the FKF Premier League. Hii ligi ni yetu, tuende nayo. You can also enjoy the Europa League, La Liga and FA Cup. To enjoy, simply get a satellite dish for only 2,699 shillings and aerial decoder for only 1,499 shillings and watch the FKF Premier League live and in HD exclusively on BTV channel 172 and 463. Recharge for 2 months and get upgraded for 2 months or call 0719 077 000.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
That's in minute 7. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. It's the situation room. We are looking at the headlines. So, Today is that day. Leo ni ile siku. Senate will today convene a special sitting to begin impeachment proceedings against Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko. Yesterday, members of the Nairobi County Assembly, which impeached the governor on December 3rd, met their legal team at Windsor Hotel to strategize how to defend their case. The impeachment trial, which was scheduled between last Thursday and Friday, was rescheduled to today, and the lawmakers will take the final vote tomorrow. So, that matter is happening today. Remember, they went to the floor of the House yesterday, and the leader of the majority, Pogisio, after reading the mood of the House, decided here, coming to tell people at the 11-member committee. No.
Everybody.
Wacha iende vile itaenda. Let the river follow its course. So the river will now be following its course today. 67 senators, but because of the impeachment of a governor is a matter concerning counties, their votes will only be 47 delegations. So, the governor needs 24 delegations to survive his removal from office, failure to which he will join Waitito as the second governor to be ignominiously.
Given the length of that particular word, my brother, you can start with the ig
and then
or the in, and it will all still sound
ignominious.
Okay. Yes, or in godminious, it will still sound okay.
Why put such a heavy word, surely, even you? Collins Omulo is the one who wrote this story.
Yes.
And Ibrahim Oruko.
They capture the essence of what is being said. Whether it's ig or
ignominious.
Fine, we've got it. It's that word.
So Sonko is the impeachment trial starts today.
And it is Iggy.
And it is Iggy.
Iggy. Okay. Guys are all silly. Meanwhile, prison staff get pay rise in a new grading system.
Wow.
But
don't celebrate soon.
No, wait. Prison staff are getting a pay rise. Now, that's just so you know, it's a new grading system. No. On the other side, where health workers are complaining, the SRC has said no pay rise for striking medics.
Okay.
The salaries and remuneration.
Commission.
Yes. Has dismissed the health workers' push for an increment in risk allowance, siding with the governors who had termed the demand for higher pay as unaffordable. In an advisory to the Council of Governors, the SRC said the allowances will be unaffordable. As provided for in the revised guidelines on the collective bargaining agreements in public service, affordability is one of the key considerations by the Commission when determining parameters for collective bargaining negotiations. Counties have indicated unavailability of resources to cater for the resultant view of the CBA items as proposed by trade unions. This according to Lynn Mengich, and she said this in a letter that was dated on the 10th of December. So this was 3 days after the strike was supposed to have started, right? Yeah. But she's basically said, look, there was no money. This letter came out then. Now, doctors are currently earning 20,000 shillings risk allowance per month. Nurses are earning 3,850 per month. Clinical officers at 3,000 and other officers at 2,000. SRC wants these rates to be maintained. Clinical officers and nurses want their rates increased to guess what? 30,000 per month, 10 times what they're currently earning. In this regard, the SRC has advised that the County Public Service Board negotiate with the respective trade unions with a view of retaining the current rates at risk of allowance, rates of risk allowance up to the end of the current review cycle. And so according to Mengich, this is not going to happen. And governors say that they have addressed the grievances with the striking workers.
No, they haven't.
They said they have addressed.
No,
but
they
I know
haven't.
they could have said whatever, but at the end of the day, folks are still on strike.
If they've addressed them, then why are they still on strike?
Exactly. Folks are still on strike.
Addressing doesn't mean you talk to them. Addressing means you arrive at an understanding that you are going to implement what you have agreed on during the negotiations and that you actually implement it. It appears that when the politicians talk about implementing and say, we will implement, as far as they're concerned, the deed is done. It isn't done. And by the way, even when they asked for that 30,000, you think they didn't know that they wouldn't get it. They know they can't get it.
So they're hoping they'll fall somewhere along that line.
The question that comes to mind is, what was agreed on previously, has that even been paid?
That's the unfortunate thing. That the CBA within which they're operating now, that's 2017 to 2021, right? Even that has not been met. So by the time they're negotiating the terms of the current CBA, which has not been fulfilled. Now, according to the SRC, they are getting advice from the Council of Governors. And Council of Governors is telling them that, look, we don't have the money, we're unable to afford this. Meanwhile, this is what was set out in the CBA. So the questions abound. Why set something that you know you don't have the money for? Why continue to promise when you know that you're not going to be able to fulfill these promises? So when they come to you and they're asking you for, this is more than 100%, where they're asking you for 10 times what they're currently giving you, they're not asking it they're not asking it out of ignorance, because they're saying, look, we've been able to do other things. Surely that which we have agreed upon, why can't it just be done? It has never been done. In the history of CBAs for health workers in this country, they have never been fulfilled 100%, ever.
So now, as this is happening, were they still meeting with the senators and MPs?
Yes.
The doctors?
Yes.
So, and the doctors are continuing this meeting, and nurses and clinical officers have not had any meeting with the legislators.
They've not been given audience.
Page 10 of the Standard talks about the doctors and nurses rivalry playing out, and it's being seen here because it's basically asking. So we have doctors who are the first ones who had issued a strike notice. Then we joined them as clinical officers. We joined them as nurses. We appear to be all working in solidarity. On the eve of the strike, doctors pull out and they say they've been invited for talks. Now, they've been having talks. Nurses and clinical officers are still on strike. They haven't been invited to this conversation. So what's happening here? Is it a divide and rule? Is it the doctors still feeling that, okay, well, we can still deal with our welfare, and these other guys can sort themselves out? Is it that rivalry that's playing out?
Well, we heard from the SG of the Kenya Medical...
Of the doctors.
Of the doctors, that one. Long acronym.
Pharmacists.
And what did he say to us that day? He said, look, we're going in as doctors. However, we are carrying the concern of our colleagues also on our shoulders. Now, that could have been said in word, but in actual deed could be something different.
Have they
because
met with this?
if the nurses and clinical officers still feel slighted, look, how come you're only talking to the doctors? And look at what we're looking at, right? Just look at the differences in allowances. Doctors are earning 20,000 shillings risk allowance per month. Nurses and clinical officers... nurses and clinical officers are earning 3,850 and 3,000 shillings respectively.
There you go.
Look at the difference between that alone. So when you're having these negotiations as doctors only, and there's no representative from nurses and clinical officers and other officers there, do you really think that they will be able to negotiate on their behalf to get it up to something considerable?
You know, if you're telling me that at the end of every day we have a meeting between the three unions, to sit down and say, so this is what, guys, so we have had the meeting with the legislators, this is what they were telling us, what do you guys think? But now it appears this one union of doctors is basically operating on its own, and the other two unions are out there fighting their own battles. Because if you listen to what George Gebore, who is the clinical officer secretary general, said, we were never invited. That's why I say we've been neglected. Never invited for any of these meetings. Never. So these conversations are happening. It's just for the doctors.
Yep.
If anything is agreed upon, it'll be for doctors.
The doctors.
Doctors cannot say at yes.
Cannot
we agree to
negotiate on
anything
behalf of
nurses or
the
clinical
nurses.
officers.
It doesn't matter how much we argue around it, but this, in the realm of the reality of what we are dealing with, it will look like a betrayal.
If what?
If the doctors arrive at an understanding which only favors them,
Yep. Yes,
and it doesn't favor the nurses, the clinical officers, and
See,
the lab technicians.
it already appears to be a betrayal by virtue of the fact that doctors dropped the strike notice and went into these negotiations, and they carried on with their strike. Already it would appear as if they're getting the short end of the stick. The day the doctors decided that they were going to have these talks with Senate and the National Assembly, and nurses and clinical officers said, you know what, forget it, we're still going on strike. From then, the signs of betrayal had already started to come out.
Well, should we say they have now been enhanced? They've been turbocharged.
Yep.
Because at the end of the day, the doctors cannot work without this kind of employees.
That's the thing.
Yes. They can't carry the burden of healthcare on their own. It's not possible. But listen, their argument, in my mind, was also a viable one. Remember, they had been reached out to by the Senate. Specifically, there's a gentleman in the Senate, Ledamo Lekina. He had reached out. And they had said, folks, it is okay. Let's give them a hearing. All right? But where the waters now get a bit muddied was the understanding had been, look, we're in this thing together.
Yeah.
Okay? Could they not have said, folks, even as you're inviting
So
us,
as you're inviting us, also invite
please
these
invite
guys.
so and so and so and so that they can also
We're
come.
coming together,
Yes.
because you're talking about the plight of healthcare workers.
Yes, not the plight of doctors.
So, and then the senators, he's quoted here as having said, we've just invited the doctors first, but when we have the next meeting on the 10th, we'll invite all the others. This has not happened.
Nope.
Not only that, the moment you make that statement, it's already skewed.
Yeah.
It's the same. These are health workers. They work in the same sphere. They work in the same space. So how then do you want to discriminate and say we will talk to... Anyway, the waters are muddied.
That's how it is.
Yes.
It just looks like that. It's everything is going just south.
Upside down.
Upside down.
And we're heading towards Christmas.
Yeah.
And after Christmas, there'll be New Year. And then there'll be all this muddle of children going back to school. There'll be people who have mingled and mixed. And there'll be...
And you'll have more people now needing healthcare.
Precisely. There'll be a clear upsurge of it. So, right.
Let's get ready ourselves for that. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room. Keep it right here. In the next hour, we speak with Dagoretti South MP John Kerry, looking at the behavior and conduct of leaders in public, even in private. Okay? We'll be on that conversation shortly. Good morning. It's now 7 o'clock.
Spice FM, Nakuru. Traffic.
Okay, so what are we looking at now? Road's not too bad this morning. Coming off of Mombasa Road and trying to get into the CBD, it doesn't look too bad. It's building up right around the SGR. Mombasa Road is not too bad. Thika Road, it's like folks have already gone on holiday. Not a problem at all. Jogo Road also is looking pretty good. That's going towards the CBD and then also going into industrial area as well. Not a problem there. Okay, coming out of Westlands, going into the CBD, it's okay. It's moving. So this is not to say that there's no traffic, that there are no vehicles on the roads. They are, but we're not seeing heightened levels of traffic right now. Okay, if you do, let us know so we can at least see places to avoid this morning and then use a longer route if you need to. Okay, Spice FM KE on Twitter. That's how you can reach us or talk to us via text on 40127.
Like no other, The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power.
2
and
minutes after 7.
Eric
This is
Latin,
Kenya's biggest
agent provocateur, the man.
Broadcasting on Spice FM online, Spice FM KE, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and www.spicefm.co.ke. As we begin this hour, like we do every hour, CT Muga facing Mount Kilimanjaro this time. Do you see the elephants in the Amboseli?
We will come back to that facing the mountain thing later, but for now, let me read what it is that has been selected as today's proverb. An elephant does not limp when walking on thorns.
An elephant does not limp when walking on thorns.
No.
Really? Okay. Okay.
Do you have information to the contrary?
I haven't been observing elephants. Not the kind of thing that I do, man.
Jeez.
So those that have observed and have come up with the proverb, and they're in Ethiopia, yeah, just a mimi ni nani. I agree with them.
You have agreed too quickly.
Those are Ethiopian elephants. or Ethiopian thorns.
Okay.
So have a different conversation altogether. So this hour, let's carry on the conversation that we had started yesterday. Yesterday we had a conversation about what we saw over the weekend, which is not new in terms of how we see political leaders particularly behaving in public. We had a conversation with Edwin Sifuna, the ODM Secretary General. We were talking also about the Malindi MP, Aisha Jumwa, and what she had said and what politicians and leaders keep saying all the time. We are just looking at the outcome of the by-election in Msambweni. You remember during these entire Msambweni campaigns, this is where these conversations were happening over the weekend. Before that, we had seen Mudama, who is the senator who had been arrested and transported 55 kilometers away from where he was arrested. In one of these Msambweni campaigns, he had uttered some other words also, which you cannot even repeat. Can't even keep them somewhere in your mind. And they were still unpalatable. And we see political leaders, especially those that get a platform, coming out to speak the way they do. Is that the good manners that they were taught by their mothers? Or is that the manners that they picked up from the world? Is that what we as a people have encouraged them to do? Where the feedback that we were getting is, look, people encourage these kind of leaders to do this. But now moving on to the next step. What is it that we should expect of our leaders? What is it that we talk about when we say that we have Chapter 6 of the Constitution that looks up leadership, integrity, and even the law that goes with that Leadership and Integrity Act? What is it that we expect of a leader in terms of how they behave?
And our expectations realistic? Or do we set the bar too high? Do we anticipate and expect things that humanly are not possible? Or is it just that despite our expectations, the members of parliament, or at least when one aspires to that particular position and one gets it, they then aspire for a really low standard? What is it?
There's also the other pressure that we'll talk about. When a political leader stands up and there's this crowd and they are discussing an issue and they get emotional and they get carried away and they just, want to mix what they are saying. It's a strongly worded message, but also at the same time entertaining this crowd that has come out to look at them. Then that's how, some of these things start coming up. Just not being able to contain yourself and be like, okay, so is this the right platform?
The issue of the crowd psychology and the pull that it has, unfortunately, that is currency for any politician. Because where do you sell your ideas? Who do you talk to? And if it's a ready crowd and they seem to resonate with what you're saying, I think it's an easy push. The next step to push the agenda further is it's not difficult to see how that would happen. Yes, because it gives an opportunity to actually sell an idea that you ordinarily might not have been able to sell that easily, especially when it is clear that they like what you're saying.
So sometimes we see this with the seasoned politicians when they have been in the field for a while and they have done all these things. We see this with some newbie politicians as well when they've just come in and they've been observing what has happened with their seasoned seniors, so to speak, and how they've been able to carry on and carry the day whenever it comes to elections and how they're able to sway the crowds. Maybe they just this is what the people want.
Sometimes,
so give the people what they want.
We have to remember that these members of parliament, the politicians, are human beings. You may even have a prepared speech in your head, or you may even have it on paper. Then you get to the podium and you figure, what the heck? This one, I'm going to say what on my mind. And they go ahead and say it.
I'm going to wing it.
I'm just going to say what I think I should say. And I think it's complex, and maybe somebody who has aspired to the seat and has seen the permeations of it would be best placed to explain how it is that this situation that we keep encountering and seeing, how it plays out and why it plays out.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's bring in the Dagoretti South Member of Parliament, John Carrier, KJ. KJ is the first-time Member of Parliament, but it's not the first time that he has contested for this particular seat. It's not the first time that he has participated in election campaigns or in even civic awareness around the country. KJ, good morning.
Good morning, Eric, and good morning, team. It's a big honor to be on Spice FM today, finally.
Goodness. Have you been calling us and we haven't been picking your calls, Mheshimiwa?
Actually not. I'm just saying it's a great honor to be hosted early this morning.
You know, you're a very gracious person. Thank you, sir.
It's great to have you.
I'm also very grateful for technology, especially at these COVID hours. You know, social distancing doesn't get better than this.
Oh, yeah.
No, it doesn't.
We get a lot out of it. Mheshimiwa, we are talking about a conversation that we started yesterday, and we also know that this conversation has happened in various platforms on the conduct and behavior of national leaders, elected leaders, when they're in public, and even sometimes when they're in their private spaces. And then what is also expected of them by the public. Do we place, like the city was asking, have we raised the bar too high? Have we put expectations too high, even beyond what we, the citizens, can do? And then we expect that our leaders are going to do this. When we see political leaders standing up on podiums and speaking as they do, and I don't need to repeat what I'm talking about, I'm sure it's something that you know. You've seen political leaders do this. You have, I'm sure, attended meetings where leaders who you've just seated next to take up a microphone, and what gets out of their mouth, you're sitting there wondering, okay, should I now follow this route or should I change the tone a bit? What is it that makes a leader get to this point?
Thank you very much, Eric. And first up, I've got to say that I'm not holding brief for anyone. Of course, I do not hold brief for Edwin Sifuna, Wakili. I also don't hold brief for the Malindi Member of Parliament, Honorable Aisha Jumwa. But I've got to say that the conversation that was held around utterances that were made at public rallies cannot be normalized. It would be wrong for us to, get up here on Spice FM and say that whatever we had or saw is siasa, is kawaida politics. This cannot be our kawaida, and this cannot be our siasa. And in fact, when we raise such sensitive issues as rape and raise it so casually and put it out there as fodder for political entertainment, then I think, as you are putting it, we are actually on the verge of crossing the line. Now, the second thing I need to say is that there's the excitement that comes with addressing, rallies, and especially real time. And it becomes a bit more interesting now with the technology that we have, because you can be broadcast, across the world, real time, even at a political rally, something that never happened in the past. And also something that, breaks down some of the gatekeeping, because, I remember when some people like yourself were getting on TV, Eric, or getting on radio, there was the 7-second rule on live TV or live radio, where someone was able to censor what you're just about to say, or what you have just said, and they had a window of like 7 seconds to censor that. We don't have the privilege to do that anymore with live video. So it puts the bar a bit higher for any communicator, any politician who is out there, knowing very well that whatever you say will end up or might end up being broadcast throughout the world in real time. Then it behooves the communicator or the politician to even set their bar a bit higher. Now, finally, what I also need to say is that we might not be able to moralize people or even say that the law says this, or they say the law doesn't say this about some of these things. So the thing that Wakili PLO Lumumba calls hygiene in politics ought to be a personal standard. It should be something that one puts up for themselves, not waiting for the world or the media to call it out, or it to come up as a discussion on social media. It should be a personal standard. It should be an individual who decides that there is actually a line that I cannot cross in terms of what I say while addressing an audience. Now, finally, Eric, I've got to put it out there that, just a few short years ago, 3 to 4 years ago, KJ was not an MP. A few short years ago, a man like Edwin Sifuna was not a Secretary General of a party, neither was Aisha Jumwa an MP. Meaning that these are people who are sourced out of our society, sourced out of our community. So when we talk about the raw material of the leaders that we get, it is our society. So it might be even harder to change individuals and what they say in rallies than it would be for us to change the real raw material from which leaders are sourced. Because what you see on political rallies, what you see on TV, what you will see on our media is actually sourced from our society. So if there is something to be said about the standards that we have set, then these standards are societal standards. While there is a responsibility on the individual, we've also got to ask ourselves, what has our society come to? Because at these rallies, you're seeing old people who are cheering these people on. You're seeing middle-aged people who are cheering them on. You're seeing young kids, actually really young kids at these rallies, and they're all cheering us on. So what does that say about our society and our standards?
Mheshimiwa, then are you saying that where in the past we saw perhaps politicians, leaders playing to the gallery on these platforms that they've been accorded, so essentially they are not playing to the gallery, but they are exhibiting who they really are? This is who they are. Is that what you're saying? So it's not just a moment where you have the microphone and then you're putting on an act. But the things that you are saying, then you are asking that people actually believe you because this is who you are.
Kindly don't put words into my mouth.
That's why I said, is that what you're saying? That's why I asked. I said, are you saying? I didn't say you are saying. I asked, are you saying that that's the case?
I believe that it's as I said, it's personal standard. This is an individual who stands up and are doing this deliberately. They are doing it cognitively, knowing exactly what it will elicit from an audience. So it could be an act, it could be their real personality, but also I grew up in a political family, and I remember that back in the day, anyone who took up to a political podium actually was required by society to have a certain level of skill in oratory. And what a skill in oratory does is that there's some things that you would say crudely that can be, coached nicely and can be put up very intelligently with a good skill in oratory that wouldn't end up being offensive, and the point is made. So I've got to say that yet again, as I said earlier, that we've also got to question the societal standards today, because as you were seeing, each one of these individuals was being cheered on by Kenyans.
That is very true, and everything you've said is actually true, but let me add an additional truism. You see, the political landscape is a different ecosystem altogether. Just like if you are in school, that's a different ecosystem. If you are in an institution of higher learning, that's a different ecosystem. And the influences that these ecosystems, as I'm calling them, have on the individual, as I say, will differ. You see, societal norms, generally speaking, are exactly what you say they are. However, the influences of this microcosm, this part of our society called the political landscape, yes, there's a general influence that one has even as one goes into that particular sphere, but there is that specific, very, very specific. That's why I'm calling it an ecosystem.
And I'm totally in agreement with you. Totally in agreement with you. And my build to that actually is the fact that we have set very different standards for what is expected out of a politician. We've set very different standards out of what is expected out of a political situation. And just look at the case of Msambweni yesterday. I don't know how we got to normalize the suspension of decorum, the suspension of even the constitution, the suspension of laws when it comes to political engagement. I've been a victim of political violence, and I can tell you, on the day that I was being attacked by political goons, there were police people or policemen who were within the earshot, who were within the eyesight. They could see what was happening. But what happens within a political ecosystem, what you're calling a political ecosystem, is normally excused as just politics. So we suspend our laws, we suspend our decorum, we suspend our ethics, we even suspend the constitution. People do unconstitutional things in a political platform. People do unconstitutional things in political engagement, and we have come to now, normalize it as, oh, hiyo ni siasa tu, au wanapiga siasa, which I think should not be the case. We've got to call ourselves to a higher standard as a society, and the moment we do that, even an offender will find themselves out of place in such a society, because it will not be tolerated, it will not be entertained, and it will not be accepted.
You see, the question that comes to my mind, even as I was saying what I was saying and I'm listening to you, is this, who influences who more? Because
the big question of the chicken and the egg.
Yes, exactly. Who influences who more? Who
influenced by the people, or do the people influence the politician?
Yes, exactly. Because
what I can tell you for a fact is that the politician is a political product of a society. That one is for a fact.
He is. But let me explain why I'm saying this. I remember many years ago, when I was attending funerals in my neck of the woods. When I was a younger man. I keep telling my colleagues that there was a time when I was actually much younger than I am now. And something struck me at the funerals. It was the one-party system, and you couldn't even hold political rallies without a license, and if you sought the license, you would not get it. So you wouldn't hold a rally. So what wannabe politicians did was they would go to funerals, and at funerals, in the pretense that they were making a speech at a funeral, then they would say their political piece. But there's something which struck me. There is a comment, a phrase they kept using, and they said, this money you see politicians giving you, take it. And they called it, the term was used, taxpayer. I said, it's your money. And I went to many funerals. I'm not saying that I had many relatives who died. I simply said, over a period of time, people do die, and I attended many funerals. And I kept hearing this narrative of taxpayer. Meaning, previously people would reject money if it was given to them, but now they were being told, take it. It doesn't matter who gives it to you, take it.
You take it.
Now, this particular narrative evolved and became a fully fledged dragon, to the point where now the monarchy expects to be given. And in my neck of the woods, there is a phrase that is used. In English, it translates as set me free.
Niachilie gonyo.
Gonyo, yeah, precisely. See, Mheshimiwa, you understand it. Now, I've given a short history of how I saw it evolving.
I belong to the very vibrant party. You forget at some point I was the national president of youth, and from your neck of the woods, when you're the president of the youth in this vibrant party, normally the president of the youth and the youth. You can explain that to Eric.
Oh, I am aware of your involvement in this vibrant party. I'm very, very aware.
So Gonyo is what?
Gonyo is
to release you, set you free.
Is to set you free.
And,
yes.
And the truth of the matter is, of course, this is coming out of so many factors. One of the factors is, of course, the disenfranchisement of the voter. Yes. The voter is very disenfranchised in terms of their living standards for that. But secondly, also in terms of civic education. How civically aware is the voter?
Right.
Now, that is one factor. The other factor is, don't forget that for the last close to 15 years, we have been trying to build a welfare state. And someone needs to do a hypothesis on this conversation alone. How well are we doing by making it look like there is stuff that can be gotten for free, that there's stuff that can be gotten for not working for it, that you can be rewarded for something that you didn't work for? And we've got to ask ourselves, when we move towards free primary education, free maternity, free secondary education, free stuff, where does that leave a country? And there are two factors to it. We are talking of a country that has a budget of an economy of 3 trillion Kenya shillings, first, can we afford it? But secondly, the entitlement that comes out of it. And I'm talking about an issue where you're issuing bursaries. And bursaries are to be issued to the very needy, the very deserving. And you've got Kenyans driving big fat vehicles into these venues, and they come and accost the people who are issuing bursary forms, declaring that this is our money and you've got to give us bursary. And you can tell this is someone who has the wherewithal, who can afford.
They can afford to
send
actually
their children to
sponsor.
school.
They can even sponsor
there
other
are
children.
all these issues that are coming to play. There is a very disenfranchised voter. This voter is disenfranchised because, one, they could be, or the living standards could be low. But secondly, the bigger disenfranchisement is a very civically unaware populace. And do politicians play into that and take advantage of the fact that there are people out there who are not civically aware?
I want to put it that it's not politicians who are playing into it, it's politicians who are actually perpetrating it.
Fueling.
Just going into what CT you were saying earlier and just listening to that story of Gonyo and how it started. Initially, people would refuse. People would feel, why are you giving me money?
Yeah, they wouldn't take it.
And then the politician comes and says, you know what, it's your money.
Take it.
Yeah, take it. These were very wily politicians. These people
even
knew that over time, I need you to start taking it. So when I come next time and I'm not giving you as much, but I've taken so much more, then you have nothing to question me about. And it's the same excuse that we can still see playing out even now, where the political class, those who are in the political arena, would come and use the same language of kula kwa so and so, kura kwa so and so. We are normalizing the fact that, you have to kula because it's your money anyway. And it's the same argument that the members of parliament would use, for example, when they're saying, you know why I need a higher allowance, you know why I need more money? It's because of what people come and ask for from me. And yet that conversation, if we were to ask then who influences the other, I would say it's the political class that has influenced the citizens. It's a political class that is more aware of the game that it's playing, that it wants to make sure that it's playing with the mind of the populace.
Let's be honest and say that the political marketplace is actually a transaction, and it's not a one-way avenue. It's actually a two-way avenue. So the question here is about us being civically aware, and the question that begs is, if I demand Gonyo, will that be the end of my transaction with whoever I'm demanding the Gonyo from? How much more should I expect from these individuals who have already cooled, and cooled here is literally because some of these people do not even have that money that they pretend to be giving. You can imagine if you're in any constituency or even a ward, you cannot afford to quote unquote buy everyone. So if you are going out there and giving out money, are you ending the transaction on that and saying, I actually bought these votes, so you shouldn't expect any much more from me because that you have already bought the vote?
I do agree that it is a transaction, but isn't it time, Weshima, that the type of transaction changed? Isn't it time that the kind of transaction changes so that now you're not offering a handout, because that's what it is. You're not offering a handout for which an individual is going to take it that day and sort their daily problems. But now you're transacting in things that are actually going to change the livelihoods of people for time. Because it has always been that I can offer you 200, 1,000 shillings today. You can buy your meal for a couple of days down the hall. But can you imagine then if you're actually coming and saying what it is that you are going to do that's going to better the life of this individual so they don't have to depend on this little commodity, little transaction, whereas they could depend on something that was permanent. And that's the problem, because you talk about disenfranchisement, you talk about civic education that's needed. Leaders know that these things are needed. They also know that the people don't have them. So is it not time that now on these political platforms that make so much national noise, that the noise now starts to be about how things can actually change?
Well, this is music to my ears. Some of us do not have the financial muscle or the financial wherewithal to be able to be buying votes. And this would be, music to my ears. But we've got to ask ourselves, how far have we sunk? How deep have we sunk? And think of a situation, you brought up an issue of back in the day when you'd go to funerals and you'd find people politicking, and you even threw it back all the way to the time of the one-party state. But throw it even further back, and my grandfather was in the struggle, for independence for this country, and some of the stories that he used to tell were actually really heartwarming. They told of situations where the people who were fighting for freedom of this country would hold rallies across the country, and when they showed up at a certain village and they were sensitizing the people on the need for the liberation of the country, instead of them offering something to the voters to be, in fact, the people in the community are the ones who used to mobilize. And they would mobilize resources, and they would give these resources to the people who were their leaders, and they would be fueling this campaign. And what would happen is that eventually the campaign would be owned by the people. So that makes it even easier for the people to hold their leaders accountable. You can imagine a situation where, a Mau Mau party has showed up in your village, and instead of people demanding for something from the Kenyattas of that day and the other, liberation struggle leaders back in the day, what would happen is that these people would pull together resources. People would go into their chambers, they would dig up cassavas, they would bring bananas. The ones who had a few mangotores, they would get some little money and give to this campaign. So what would eventually happen, which was really magical, is the fact that the people now owned the campaign. And what would happen is that they would also own their leaders to the point where they could hold these leaders to account. But if you're having a one-off transaction, which is a handout transaction with your leaders, it means then you cannot even hold that leader to account, because first of all, you cannot stand on any moral pedestal. You cannot stand on any moral high horse and say, I'm the clean person and I should hold this leader to account, or this leader should be held to account if they go in and they're pilfering, national coffers, because you are also expecting a piece of that loot.
Time for us to take a break, and thank you very much for joining us this morning. This is The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation. We have on the line the Dagoretti South MP, John Kerry. We are looking at the conduct of leaders, political leaders in public. And as we come out of this break, we'll also now move the conversation into what we are seeing, how we see leaders behaving. Some of the younger leaders that we have in the country today, and from the conversation that we were hearing yesterday from our callers, it's as if we are the ones who are expecting our leaders to behave this way. We are the ones who are shaping our leaders in this direction, and also that they are taking advantage of that. Let's look at university elections, for example, elections at a college level, and how those leaders then rise up to the national podium. How do they behave all along, and what happens? Time for us to take a break. We'll be back shortly. It's 7:30. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. On the line, once again, John Kerry, the Dagoretti South MP.
Spice FM.
Hey, it's getting hot in here. The media has greatly contributed to the moral rot that we experience in this country.
I remember a senior politician telling me, point blank, nobody steals in the field, it's stolen in the granary. So my friend, if you're going to win an election, jipange kwa granary.
I think we are suffering from Stockholm Syndrome. Our violator and abuser is also our redeemer in our mind.
The whole political class, the whole political institution is rotten. It is based on ideals that cannot...
Chilled Spice.
Okay, only
The
partly
weather
cloudy in
with
Nairobi this
Spice.
morning at 17. We'll go to highs of 27 today. Partly cloudy conditions at 12 in Nakuru. Highs of 26, coming back down to lows of 12. It's partly cloudy in Nyeri at 13. Highs of 25 and lows of 13. It's getting cooler and cooler in Eldoret this morning at 7 degrees now, going to highs of only 24. And cloudy conditions in Kisumu at 20. Highs of 29. We're looking at 20 in and partly cloudy in Kakamega as well, highs of 31 and lows of 16. It's raining in Mombasa at 26, highs of 31 and lows of 25. Looking at partly cloudy conditions in Malindi, highs of 30 and lows of 18. And it's clear in Kampala at 20, highs of 27 and lows of 18. Dar es Salaam is partly cloudy this morning. We'll go to highs of 31 and lows of 26. Where in Johannesburg, it's mostly sunny at 15, highs of 22 and lows of 14. Light rain in Lagos, Nigeria this morning at 25, we'll go to highs of 31 and lows of 24. It's cloudy and 100% chance of rain in Kinshasa this morning, highs of 30, back down to lows of 24.
Sugar and spice and everything nice, just the way you like it.
The Spice Drive.
Did you have a great day? I hope you did. I intend to make it better from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. I'm going to be taking you home nice and chill. Everyone is welcome aboard. The hashtag is Spice Drive and, of course, Spice FMKE on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
The Spice Drive with Monique. The official soundtrack of getting you where you need to be. 87.9 Spice FM. Mombasa.
Right, so it's slowing down on Thika Road this morning. From KCA, it's really slow now. And then also looking at the Donholm roundabout, stuck on outer ring, it's also moving very slowly there. Magadi Road between Tuskies and Masai Lodge, it's a real mess this morning and traffic is very, very slow. So where we saw that it was easing up before, now very, very slow this morning, guys. All right, let's also look at Eastleigh, where it's also slow going out towards the CBD. Okay, so things have generally slowed down this morning, trying to get picked up. Let us know if you run into anything that we need to know about. Talk to us on Spice FM KE or text on 40127.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. Spice FM.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
This is Kenya's biggest conversation. It's the Situation Room. This and every weekday morning you have in the room Eric Latif, Nduoko, C.T. Muga. And joining us on the line this morning is the Dagoretti South MP, John Kerry. We are looking at the conduct of elected leaders in public and in private.
Right. So, I mean, from your point of view, Weshimiwa, what do you think needs to change? What needs to happen for things to be good? Not even get better, but to be good?
I think first we need to call ourselves to order. I like the fact that we are already having this discussion on a reputable radio station, because it means that then someone has realized that there is a problem. Because you won't be able to start solving a problem that you don't first realize exists, or secondly that you acknowledge. Then the other thing is, of course, we've got to ask ourselves: is this only happening in the political circle, or is it something that is now permeated all corners of society? For example, I remember just a few years ago, there had been an election of officials to the Law Society of Kenya. And I remember some young lawyers, physically almost assaulting senior counsel, people that we have grown up really respecting, people who we have grown up holding in very high esteem. And I'm talking of lawyers of the caliber of Dr. Haminwa. And I remember in this very specific LSK election, a young lawyer who we noticed on that day, because he was lacking in decorum, he was totally misbehaving at that election, stood up and was pointing a finger at Dr. Haminwa in a very unprofessional way. Now, look at it a few years later. The same young lawyer turns out to be the same offender at this campaign rally in Sambweni, meaning that the rot had started out way earlier in their professional background. I'd had opportunity way back when I was in entertainment to be the host and MC for very many LSK functions. And I remember back in the day when I was hosting some of these functions, these people were very particular about how they even addressed themselves as members of this very esteemed profession called law. I remember that a junior lawyer would not, wake up and just address a senior lawyer anyhowly. But at these very elections, I remember there had been a clamor for change, and the change was being branded as a generational change. And I remember some young lawyers really acting in very, very, what you'd call, unprofessional manner. And it doesn't surprise me then that just a few years later, it doesn't surprise me that these are the same people who ended up being offenders in the political scene. And that is speaking to the point that I'm making, that yes, politicians could be misbehaving out there, but they don't wake up one morning and become leaders. We have seen them growing in other professions and causing all manner or being offenders of all manner of misdemeanors, and then ending up in politics.
So you're saying, So you're saying that essentially, Kenyans, you see the way these people behave already. You know their character by the time they're getting to ask you for their vote for whatever position.
Exactly.
But you still go in and elect them.
Exactly.
So they're not hiding who they are from you.
And I give just one example of one profession called law.
Yeah.
But think about it. Even our children, as we are bringing them up, think about a child seated at home watching maybe a teacher's strike, and they're seeing their discipline master doing somersaults on the road. the discipline master, or even their discipline mistress, a teacher wearing a skirt and she's, throwing her legs up in the air, doing somersaults on the road, all in the name of picketing, all in the name of Hakietu.
Yeah.
So what you're teaching this young person is that, provided you will end up getting what you want out of a process, it doesn't matter how tidy the process is, that the end justifies the means. So if this is what a young person is growing up to, then we should not be surprised to see this young person being an extremely untidy campaigner when they are vying for a seat on their university representative body, or coming out of university and becoming also elected as a national leader. It shouldn't come as a surprise. So I think having the conversation is a good place to start, by identifying that, yes, there is a problem, and we start now prescribing the right remedy when we have acknowledged that, yes, there is a malady, and we diagnose the malady right.
Mheshimiwa, there's something that comes to mind, even as we're having this very lively and wonderful discussion, is when people aspire for positions of leadership in the political realm, are they willing to stand up for what they believe to be correct, as opposed to talk about what they think is correct? And let me give you an example of what I mean. We talk about the voter expecting to be given money, but how many people do you know of who actually stand up and say, I will not be giving you handouts? They exist, but are there many?
These people exist, and that's why also we would be very wrong. It would be a fallacy of gigantic proportions if we generalized everyone and say that this is what is happening generally in society, or this is what is generally acceptable in politics. There are young people who, there are a number of people who actually do stand for something. And this is not even a generational conversation. It is actually a very general conversation. When you talk about the older generation, you're talking about people like the stories are told, although they are told in just at some point they're told as if it's a funny joke. Stories are told of the Honorable Mwai Kibaki, and people say that his friends could not even tell whether Mwai Kibaki had a wallet because they had never seen Mwai Kibaki even once go into his pocket to dig out a handout. There are places where it's been written that, Mwai Kibaki used to speak about maturity in politics.
Yeah.
And his idea of maturity in politics was, if you get to a point where there is a big harambe happening in your neighbor's house, and you're not even bothered to go and find out whether they are campaigning for you or against you, then you have matured politically. But that is one individual who, can be a textbook example or a classic example of politicians who have risen to the highest office just out of their own personal enterprise, personal industry, intellect, and leadership qualities. But even more recently, you will find even in this generation, there are young people who are doing things that are totally unexpected. I'm talking of a case of a young MCA, I think he's in his 20s, in Makueni, who just very recently woke up and decided to write a resignation letter when he said that he went into politics. This is not what he expected out of politics.
Yeah.
He can no longer afford to be in politics. This is an MCA, being very truthful to his people.
It's costing him
Saying,
too much.
I cannot afford to be in politics because I'm expected to be giving handouts. My salary can't allow me to be giving handouts. And this young man actually wrote a resignation letter and he resigned from the Makueni County Assembly. As fate would have it, I'm told the young man ended up actually securing a job as a clerk in that county. I stand to be corrected, but I think that's what happened. There are some people who saw the integrity in the young man, and he was able to, pass an interview and become the clerk in the county assembly. But then again, Makueni is a special county. You know what is happening there. They're electing the caliber of leaders we people in Nairobi have not even been able to even dream about electing. We are supposed to be the most educated people per capita. We are supposed to be the very wealthy in terms of comparison to other counties. But Makueni is doing things that we are not able to do even in the city of Nairobi.
But City, as you are raising that question and as you are asking that of what's happening in whether we have the kind of leaders who who do not give handouts, who come out and openly say, no, I'm not going to give a handout. I'm not going to issue a handout. How many do you know of, apart from the one that you say? You've told us about this one example. And it stands out because he's one among very few.
Actually, who states it? I've given the example of the governor of Vihiga, one Mr. the Honorable Otichilo, okay? Known as a member of parliament, he did not it's the one thing he stood out for. He didn't give handouts. But with time, people stopped asking him for handouts because they could see clearly that the man was doing the things that he said he would do.
Exactly, with time.
Yes.
And that's the thing.
And they rewarded him, didn't they?
There you go.
He's now governor.
And it's not as if this is something that it's going to say, well, you're expecting it, I'm not going to do it. And then today, tomorrow, people now are at peace with it. With time, you start to see that what this individual is saying and what they're about actually makes sense. You see that somebody has said that they're coming into this position to do a certain thing, and they're not going to give you handouts. They're going to do the job. And that's what I'm saying. The job, in terms of impact, is what we should be looking at in terms of, and then also going forward in terms of permanency.
But at the point of the campaign, people don't know you. At the point of the campaign, when KJ is going around, they haven't tested him before. The test here is ukonangapi. The test is, how are you coming to us? You either support the youth in setting up a football league. At that point, they can't. You can't say that
actually
elect me.
I think you can, and I think over time, if people are serious about putting forth that particular agenda, whereby my job is not to come to you because that's what it is. We're calling it handout. It's a bribe. I'm coming to bribe you essentially to give you that give me that position.
What you're suggesting,
but I'm saying that with time, it is absolutely possible, and this is what Mweshmio was saying a few minutes ago. Hold on, that with time, it would be possible to get people to see the other side of the agenda.
But it has
that
to start from somewhere.
Yes, and if more and more people started from that somewhere, if more and more leaders got on that platform, more and more people who are visiting these towns, essentially asking for a vote, are not going with money in their pocket, but are going with the intention of them in their minds to do a job. It might sound real, it might sound idealistic, but that's the thing. This individual, did he just jump out of the blue and say he's not going to give money?
It doesn't exactly start with handout. It starts with Harambes. Okay, you are seen as somebody who contributes. Mweshima, please go on.
I actually love what the lovely lady is saying, and I think that it's idealistic people who get to change situations, who get to change societies. It's the idealistic people who eventually end up changing the world. They start out looking crazy, they start out looking too idealistic, but ultimately they are actually aiming for the sun. And eventually, if we land on the moon, we are way better off than where we started out. And the big question here is, and Eric, you remember, I think it must have been over a decade ago. Me and yourself were very young people then. We were probably in our 20s. And you remember us doing this big youth movement, Vijana Tugutuke.
Yep.
And we went around the country and we were trying to, get a basis for civic education, going out there and talking to our peers. And you remember we set up in every single district in this country, talking to young people. And you remember what came out of it, because what came out of it was an increased participation of young people in politics, some of who ended up in political office, and who even in their practice, you can see some difference between how they carry themselves in the political space as compared to other people. But my point here was, the question that we need to set out asking is the job description of our leaders well defined, and is it well understood? For example, how many leaders in these 12 parliaments are going to be re-elected for their performance in representation, in oversight, and in legislation? How many leaders are going to get back to Bunge because they made good laws? How many are going to make it back to Bunge because they are astute debaters on the floor of the House? They represent their people. How many are going to be re-elected because of the oversight role that they have played in Parliament? Is this, because this is the job description of a member of Parliament, but is this how it is understood by the voters? Do the voters understand that they elect a leader to go and represent them, to go and legislate, to go and oversight? Or are there other peripheral job descriptions that are given to a leader that now comes into conflict with what they're supposed to do?
Brings me
so
back
that
to
they
what I
end
was
up
saying.
Yes.
Over time, politicians have made it appear, and this is the role that politicians have played in miseducating the public in that civic education, that the role of a member of parliament is to bring maendeleo. You go around Dagoretti South saying, you see that road? I'm going to fix that road. You see that school? I'm going to sort out that school. You see the area here that doesn't have water? I'm going to sort out that. You're not saying I'm going to legislate, I'm going to push, and I'm going to campaign and represent you in terms of taxation so that we ensure that money is budgeted and allocated to this project. You're saying, I will sort out the road. Now, that's where we expect that, and as we looked at all the polls that come out and looking at how politicians perform, it is, how do we see you? Do we see you attending funerals? Do we see you talking to the people? Do we see you building toilets? Do we see you fixing the roads? Do we see you building classrooms? Everything else about you oversight, you representations, you how well you debate on the floor of the House is peripheral.
Mheshimiwa, who sets the agenda? You or the people you represent? Who sets the narrative of your leadership? Is it you or the people you represent? Or do you let the national narrative or the expected political narrative of politicians take control? Because the individual narrative that you hold with your with your constituency is determined by you. So, as Eric is putting it very eloquently, if indeed you are talking about change, are you also standing by the things you say so that it can be said that Mheshimiwa KJ is a man of his word? He says he does. He says he does. Now, it is a road not very often traveled because it is a difficult road. It is a lot easier. It is a lot easier in my mind to say things, but to actually do, especially when it is clear that you may be swimming against the tide, it is not an easy one. But it's a path that unfortunately isn't always followed. And that's why we find ourselves where we are. I am saying this. We, the citizens, the so-called common mwananchi, take our cue from our leaders. Whether they are church leaders, whether they are political leaders, we take our cue from them. Now, if they do not lead from the front, but they go with what is considered to be normal, kawaida as we call it, then essentially that is the path that we are going to continue along. And when you aspire for leadership and you don't make that stand, or you don't stand out as someone who is different, then the issue of difference becomes just a matter of conversation. It is not a reality.
Well, first of all, I think Earth is calling us to base. Earth is calling us back to base because we might have, a conversation on radio that is very idealistic, and we forget what exactly is happening on the ground. Unajua vile wanasema mambo kwa ground
ni different.
Ni mambo kwa ground ni different. But the truth of the matter is, I believe that it's a banter. It's actually both ways. Leaders are, to a very large extent, influenced by their society, but also societies are to a large extent influenced by the kind of leaders they have. And there has been, the world is replete with examples of where the world, stepped up in terms of development, in terms of civilization, because of the quality of the leaders they had. But there is also very many examples, up to and including my city, Nairobi, where the society has been able to just get the leaders that they deserve. So the question is, and it's a fact. When we talk development, we've also got to agree that even development is a core function of a leader. It is expected of KJ to be able to have a scorecard as to what they've been able to do in the 5 years that they were given in terms of development. And we should not make development look like it's a bad thing. It's actually a really good thing. It should actually be that, yes, you have done your legislation, you've done your oversight, you've done your representation. You've also been able to deliver the social goods that the electorate needs. And it is important. It doesn't matter whether you're going to aspire for a bigger office. It is extremely critical that at the station you are able to serve. For example,
Mheshimiwa, I want to cut you short here for a very specific reason. Huh? Yeah. I get the impression that you probably don't understand the enormity of what your candidature in Dagoretti South did. And this is my perspective. At the time you stood against a giant, Beth Mugo. Okay?
And won an election.
Yes. And so you say. And you and we know whose cousin she is. Okay? Now, you were young then, much younger than you are now. Now, do you know how that resonates with people who are of your generation? That you could do. It was now KJ the giant killer, okay? Not Jack, all right? Now, the influence that such a step takes resonates well beyond the boundaries of Dagoretti. Because what you've done is you actually indicated clearly that the impossible is actually possible. Now, it's the same conversation we are having about the stand and the position that a Mheshimiwa ought to have. This thing that seems difficult, it being possible. That's really what we are talking about.
But what does it take to get more and more people?
I like what you do. I like what you've done there. And I've got to say, of course, it's a big honor. Some of these platitudes, you never get to hear them until people come for your funeral and they start talking about how good a guy was. And it's true, we went out there. I was still in my 20s when I first vied for the Dagoretti seat. We all know how the election of 2007 went. And it's not a place I want to go back to. But the point which I would really support coming out of you is that, yes, there is a personal responsibility for everyone. And the personal responsibility is even higher. The people who are elected into offices will, by virtue of being trailblazers, by virtue of being leaders, by virtue of being front runners, will be held to a higher standard, even higher than their voters. So that now your point becomes that we do not have the luxury of shifting the blame to the electorate. We do not have the luxury as leaders to shift the blame to the people who elect us. We cannot even blame society. In fact, if anything, we should be attempting to change society. And I do believe, forget even about the case of KJ, I do believe that with an individual who is rightly powered, an individual who is rightly, I would say, is right in their calling. They are able to change not only a society, but they can change the world. And we are talking of great examples. When you think about one of the cases that really surprises me is the case of the Honorable Wangari Maathai. As an individual, she's got stuff to show for what she did as herself, as an individual, and what she was able to achieve, to a point where even we as a country could not even recognize her genius. We could not recognize her enterprise. You remember in her time, the Honorable Wangari Maathai did not serve in a position higher than an assistant minister, meaning that we as a country could not see her genius. We could not see the special thing that was in this amazing lady. It took the world out there to call us to order by giving, by fitting her with probably the highest order of decoration that anyone can get. She got a Nobel Peace Prize from out there, people recognizing what she's able to do. But in Kenya, she could not even make a minister for environment. She could not make a minister for water. She could not make a minister, she could not be put in charge of our forest.
It had to be an assistant minister. Mheshimiwa, we're coming to the end of this hour, and I'd like you to take just a moment to give your closing remarks. What is it that you'd like to tell the people, the citizens, as they look at their leaders today, as they evaluate the leaders that they want to elect in the next election? What is it that you'd like to tell them?
Well, I'd like to say that we are all in the same boat, and there's a culture of maybe being able to see the speck in everyone else's eye, and not able to see the speck, the log in our own eyes. And this is actually a national calamity. When you think about it, individuals can change. And when individuals change, they can actually change society, they can change a country. If, for example, we took our country, Kenya, and said that we are putting our problems on the table, and we asked ourselves, what is the biggest malady that is ailing this country? I would dare offer that corruption is actually the biggest malady that is ailing this country. So if we just took corruption as an example and asked ourselves, how would this change? I do believe we've had enough workshops, we've got enough institutions, we've made enough laws. So it is not about institutions. It's not about defining the problem. It's about now starting to change. And I believe change can happen at an individual level. So that if corruption is a culture, we've got to tell ourselves that a culture stems out of characters. Character will stem out of repeated habits. Repeated habits come out of repeated actions. Repeated actions will come out of thought, so that I will first think about doing something, then I will act on it. If I act on it repeatedly, it becomes my habit. If the habit is repeated, it becomes my character. When the character now permeates society, it becomes our culture. So much so that each and every individual has all the wherewithal, has all the instruments to be able to change themselves. And the moment they change themselves, they will be able to change their society, change their immediate spheres of influence, and ultimately change society and change the community.
Thank you very much. This is Mheshimiwa John Kerry, the Dagoretti South MP. Asante sana for joining us this morning, Mheshimiwa. Hope to speak to you again soon.
This has been an amazing conversation. It's my first time on Spice FM, and it's been amazing. The reason why the people who are watching me on YouTube are seeing me sweat is because I'm down at the coast, 0 meters above sea level. And I wish I could say that I am here for holiday, but unfortunately I'm not. What some of us people who go to elect our leaders don't realize is that these people actually do put in the work. And some of the work is not glamorous, is not out there. It's not even on plenary. It's not even on the floor of the House. Most of the work is actually done in committees. And some of the work, some of the harder work, the heavy lifting I've done for the last 3 years when I've been in Parliament has actually been in places where no one even gets to celebrate or see you do it.
All right. So enjoy the working holiday in Mombasa.
Thank you so much.
I wish it was our station. It's actually, end to end, a very busy program down here at the coast.
Okay.
And I wish you guys an amazing holiday. I wish the listeners an amazing Christmas. And I pray that 2021 will be better. Actually, 2021 better be better.
Yeah, it better be better. Thank you very much.
Thank
Asante sana.
Thank you.
It's now 2 minutes after 8.
Spice up your life. 102.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
So for the first time in forever, we have a traffic update out of Ukunda. And so we have those who are celebrating the election of Faisal at the Msambweni by-election in Ukunda this morning, currently on Beach Road, and that's creating a lot of traffic, and that's just in the Ukunda area this morning. All right, so coming back to Nairobi, we know that there's project after project going on: Mombasa Road, Wayaki Way, Bagathi Way, Valley Road, Haile Selassie Avenue, and this is affecting traffic in several parts. Okay, it's not so bad in and outbound on Mombasa Road, going then out towards the city, coming out of Westlands into the CBD, also not looking so bad. All right, coming off Thika Road to the Pangani Tunnel, it's slow, but you should be okay. Sorry, and then getting out towards the Globe Cinema overpass. Also, some construction taking place on Tomboya Street, so that slows things down a bit. All right, let's look in about half an hour how that may have changed. Spice FMKE, that's how you can get in touch on Twitter, just in case, or text on 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Let's look at some of the comments that have been coming in as we had a conversation with the Dagoretti South MP. What are people saying?
Okay, so according to Thomas, he says moral decay in our society should be blamed on politicians who the citizens look upon as role models. Daniel, politics without loose talk is considered boring and unattractive to the Kenyan voter. These kind of politicians are called populists in the Kenyan way. Thomas also said leaders shape the character of a society. They need to be good role models.
So the politicians are the leaders and they shape the character, right, of the society. So it's the same thing that KJ started by saying, and he was saying we can't get to a point where we normalize these things and say, this was a political forum, so treat it as siasa. You can't say that because where do you now draw the line? And the same question you're asking. If the same leaders were at a religious function, would they say the kind of things that they were saying? No. So the excuse that they give, and just the excuse that we heard from, for example, Edwin Sifuna was, I was making a political
I was
response.
responding.
Yeah.
And the question you want to ask is, did you need to respond in the way that you did? Was that the only way you could have responded?
Fire with fire, he said.
I mean, consider, for instance, one of the problems with the political rhetoric that we keep hearing is that there isn't adequate pushback against it. So it seems successful. So people seem to encourage you to continue along the path. If the reaction was one that shows distaste, then one would be a little hesitant in going along that path. But it's a path that people seems to have followed amidst a great acclaim. So people, well, the thinking is that it is okay. In fact, it is not just okay, it is very okay.
It's okay.
Yes.
I mean, it's ni siasa.
After all.
It's-
I mean, think about it. Huh? There is no political process that doesn't involve money. Okay? So it's not the process of your campaigning and using money to campaign, because you will need to use money that we're talking about. No. It is how it is you interact with the prospective voter. All right? Are you the sort of person who makes it clear from the beginning that, look, folks, I am coming to visit your region in this area, and you talk to the leaders, all right? Here is 200 shillings, my contribution for the tea that we will drink. I hope the other members of the committee or the community will also contribute so that we can all drink tea together. Even the mention of that, people ask, what are you talking about? There is a need for many people who aspire to positional leadership to be seen as people who have, and people who can resolve problems, people who can sort out issues, and people who have money. There is that need. Now, the moment you present yourself as somebody who has money and you have money to give, that rabbit hole has no end. Because then, wherever you go, you will be expected to continue doing what you have presented yourself as being capable of doing. But it is you who sets that tone. Now, you can argue that the society expects. Yes, they expect. I mean,
they can expect as long as,
yes, exactly. But
how about you? They expect something that would be permanent in their existence.
Not only permanent, is it useful to them? Is it something that is helpful? The answer is it is not.
It is not helpful, because even if somebody wants to see that handout that they were given for tea, guess what? It lasts a couple of hours and it's done. And then they hang on to the hope that something else may come in the future. So how about you do actually go and give them something that has, lasting value in their lives, lasting values in their communities, in their societies, and eventually for the nation? Why not do that?
Think of the practicality of the 50 shillings that is dished out to people. What can you do with 50 shillings, even in the rural areas?
Let's just be honest.
What can you do with it?
Not much.
And for how long can you do this thing? Not much.
Not much.
Okay, 100 shillings, what can you do with it? Okay, 200 shillings, what can you do with it? The point is, the voter doesn't see the demeaning process where they've been objectivized.
That's it.
You actually stop being a human being, you become an item. But you don't see it. And so when you start protesting is when this person treats you like an item, but you accept it to be an item.
Accepted to be one.
From the very beginning.
Yes, you
If
did.
you think about your kind of leader, so let's talk about the late Ken Okoth, okay? So he went through a campaign, he got in, and he was very focused on this is what I'd like to do. As I go into parliament, as I articulate representation and legislation and all those things that I'm doing in parliament, on the ground also, I know that the people have needs, and I have access to these 100 million shillings every year in CTF. Started the projects. And you could then see, just through those projects, he was having another conversation with the people. It's not that I'm coming to build schools, it's what it means. It's what it means for us as a people. We can do a school, and together as a community, we can work on improving our livelihoods. So he changed the conversation from, we mheshimiwa unakuja unatuachaje, to this is what we are doing. There's a project that we all together own. There's a project that we're working on. There's a project that's going to help and benefit us as a people. And that's a kind of conversation that you sort of want to see more and more leaders having. If you think about now, for example, Dagoretti South, KJ, and the kind of projects, actually, if you look at the kind of projects that have been done through CDF in Dagoretti South, you'll start seeing some things. For example, during this time, partnered with some development partners, and they set up this hot kitchen for kids in the area.
Yes.
For COVID times. So kids who've been going to school, who've been getting their nourishment in school, and they're now at home, how do you sort them out? There's a hot kitchen. Such kind of things are important. Then you can use that then to start justifying why I cannot give you handouts. I'm not giving you handouts. Let's do this together. I'm not giving you a handout. Let's now help our kids. Let's feed our children. I will not give you handouts. Let's do borehole. And I have access to these 100 million shillings, and this is what we can do. If you don't do any of that, then you're coming to tell me you're not giving me a handout. So wewe unanisaidia nini?
It's unfortunate. But look at that.
Of what use are you to me?
Practical examples of what it can mean. Because if you ask that individual, ask that individual what they would do with that money, right? But here they can see something that's not just benefiting them as an individual, but then benefiting everybody else who is in that community.
Yep.
That's what we need to keep looking at. And I'm saying, look, look, not that it looks like, it is an uphill task. It is difficult. It is long. The results will take some time before they can be seen. But I think we now it's necessary and absolutely important that we divorce ourselves from this thinking that handouts are the way to get people into and maintain people into seats of government and leadership. What is going to maintain quality in seats of leadership and governance is actually getting the job done. But we talk about systems in the US yesterday. We talk about system, whether there's this president or not, the welfare system will run.
Yep.
The social system will run. You won't go one day and find that, okay, maybe there will be no food in jails or prisons for the month of October because X person is there. No, it works. But why does it work? Because they made a decision to get this done. And whatever leader is coming in is riding on the wings of the system, not of them as an individual. Did you ever hear that in Ward, on the outskirts of Flint, Missouri, for example, that the Ward rep went and started giving people $20 in order to vote them in?
They don't even expect.
It's not even expected.
They don't, because all that the citizen knows is that there's a responsibility that county, that state, that ward, they know, they understand, and they've understood it. Now, you see, the problem with the sort of poverty level that our people have, this is something, and it's not just a poverty, it's just not material poverty. No. It's sometimes a poverty of the mind and the heart. It's taken advantage of. Because this is somebody who apparently lacks, and then they're made to believe that it's an absolute position that is almost permanent. It isn't. Remember, before an election, all these people who live in the rural areas, or all these people who live in places that we consider economically disadvantaged, survive on a daily basis. And they don't require any politician to give them anything. They survive.
They find a way.
So it means they do. Now, if one doesn't see their role as trying to make this situation that exists better for them so that they can make they can get a better deal for this livelihood of theirs. Now, or sell the idea that unless this is the sort of leadership that you provide, then that leadership has already failed even before they have begun.
Yep.
When you make it the constant advertised reality that what is being sold to you is the here and now and the immediacy, that's where the 50 shillings becomes in hand in the 100 shillings, and that you don't talk about a future, so that the future becomes something you don't even want to think about. You've sold these people down the tube.
Yeah, completely. And there you are, and you'll be taking pride and walking.
And you've actually damned them.
But at the same time, like we've heard yesterday and we're hearing today, the raw material of all these leaders is us, the people. So it starts with us. We also need to look at ourselves and ask ourselves, so if today CT wanted to become an MP, what would I be expecting out of CT?
Actually, if such a thing should happen, the first thing you should do
is
take you for a checkup.
Not only that, grab me forcefully and take me to a mental facility.
That's what I said.
8:15. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room. Let's take a look at the weather, and then we come back and go to Msambweni quite quickly.
24/7 around the world, non-stop. This is Spice FM.
Hii krisi tukiwapea mtawezana. Star Times brings you the FKF Premier League. Hii ligi ni yetu, tuende nayo. You can also enjoy the Europa League, La Liga and FA Cup. To enjoy, simply get a satellite dish for only 2,699 shillings and aerial decoder for only 1,499 shillings and watch the FKF Premier League live and in HD exclusively on BTV channel 172 and 463. Recharge for 2 months and get upgraded for 2 months or call 0719 077 000.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise.
You're listening to Spice FM.
So mostly sunny conditions in Nairobi, 16 degrees. We're going to highs of 27 today. The high will be 26 in Nakuru. Currently partly cloudy at 12, 13 degrees and partly cloudy in Nyeri. Highs of 25, lows of 13 and partly sunny in Eldoret at 14, going to highs of 24. We're looking at mostly cloudy conditions in Kisumu, a chance of rain, but later on during the day. Highs of 29. Highs of 31 in Kakamega, 19 and mostly cloudy at the moment. The light rain continues in Mombasa at 31. That will be the high. Currently at 27, coming down then to lows of 25. It's mostly cloudy in Malindi at 19, highs of 30 and lows of 18. Kampala today is mostly sunny at 20, highs of 27 and lows of 18, where it's partly sunny in Dar es Salaam at 27, highs of 31 and lows of 26, and sunny conditions in Johannesburg at 15, highs of 22 and lows of 14. The rain continues in Lagos at 25, going highs of 31 and lows of 24, while in Kinshasa it continues to be mostly cloudy, highs of 30 and lows of 24.
Spice FM. Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice.
This conversation, it's the Situation Room broadcasting on Spice FM. We're also online, Spice FM KE, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and spicefm.co.ke. So, the Msambweni by-election happened yesterday. Counting has happened overnight, and the results are out, and it shows clearly that the independent candidate, Faisal Badr, has taken this one. Let's cross over into Msambweni and speak to our coast correspondent for KTN. This is Tobias. Tobias, good morning.
A very good morning, Latif from Samboni constituency in Kwale County.
Asante sana. Tobias Chanji is a correspondent in the coast region. Tobias, I know it's been a very long 24 hours for you. From the moment the polling centers opened yesterday up to the final moment early this morning. It's been marathon, but just take us through what has happened. Has the Electoral Commission finally declared the winner officially?
Yes, indeed, Latif. It has been a long night, and the returning of some Samboni constituency, that is Mr. Yusuf Abakar, just announced the results officially. It was announced around 4:30 in the morning, and the results are as follows. Remember, there were 9 candidates. And the winner was Faisal Abdallah Bader, who emerged a winner with almost 15,251 votes, followed by his closest rival, that is Omar Edi Bog of ODM, who was able to get 10,444 votes, while the third was the Wiper Party, this is Sheikh Mahmoud Abdurrahman, who got 790 votes.
Yeah.
Then we had Hamisi Mwakaonje Luganja of the United Green Movement, who got 230 votes. Marero Omachai from the National Vision Party got 300, while Ali Hassan Makulonda from the Party of Economic Democracy received 107. Then we had also independent candidates like Charles Bilali, who got 135, Charlotte Akinyo Nyango, who had earlier on also shown her intention of supporting Eid Omar Boga, got 18 votes, while Mansuri Kumaka Abdurrahman, also of independent candidate, got 38%. But what is clear is that there was a low voter turnout, almost 39.58%. If you round off, it's nearest to that 40% of voters turned out to vote. As the total number of voters in the constituency is 9,003, but the number of total votes cast was only 27,313. But this has made some statements, especially in Coastal region, that was presumed to be an ODM zone.
If we can, before we get to the politics of it, Tobias, why the low voter turnout for this, in your opinion, from what you've been able to see?
No, first thing is most by-elections, we've also seen this, there's usually a low voter turnout. Then the other thing that most people talking about yesterday. I remember the election was conducted on a Tuesday, and this is a working day, so most of the people had gone to work, and those who are doing their businesses. So turning out to vote was also a major challenge for them. Maybe the figures will have improved if it was on a weekend, especially Saturday.
Okay, Tobias, coming off what you just talked about, seen previously as an ODM stronghold, it seems now that things may have turned on their head. And even before, if you look at some of the polls that came out, it would have been that the ODM candidate was the favorite. Was that just surface level things? And if you can now go deeper, seeing that maybe what was before no longer is?
Yeah, some of the parties are saying it was of the strategy that was mounted by Faisal Abdallah Bader team. Remember that we've had even politicians coming as far as Rift Valley, just camping in Msambweni. While on the other side, you've only seen maybe notably Governor of Mombasa, Ali Hassan Joho, who told other MPs to just stay away as he'll deliver this seat. And at the same time, some people have also been observing that there's been an overconfidence from the ODM side. Remember that when the ODM party leader Raila Odinga was here to campaign for Boga, he only spent hours, then left to Nyandarua to drum up support for the BBI. So most of them thought it's already a done deal and they were going to get this seat. And at the same time, during the even yesterday's election, we saw that there were most of voters came out in Baderi stronghold, that is Ramis Ward and Kinondo Ward, contrary to Boga's stronghold, which is Ukunda and Bongwe Gombato, where the turnout was below 28%, but in Faisal's stronghold, the turnout was at least above 40%, as most of them were more confident, the ODM side, that they were going to clinch this seat.
From what you have observed since you've been on the scene, would you then say that the independent candidate who has won was a genuinely popular candidate among the people of Msambweni?
Indeed, he was a popular candidate. Remember that we've seen Governor Joho here, we've seen King here, we've seen the ODM party leader, Raila Odinga. At the same time, you remember when the ODM candidate also met President Uhuru Kenyatta in Mombasa, who also promised some goodies to the constituents of Msambweni. These included having a market and also the construction of the Mivumoni Bridge. And now, with all these and the government machinery, with the Faisal still clinching, getting that seat, it still tells you that the candidate was also popular in this region. And the other keen thing that we also identify is that maybe it's also time for the ODM party to rethink, because it's not only Msambweni, but we've also seen that the ODM party has also lost the Mbale ward election, that is in Taita Taveta, although they've won the Dabaso ward, which was in Kilifi County.
So clearly it shows that the independent candidate had some good support. Like you're saying, there was all these campaigners who had poured into Msambweni to drum up support for this Faisal Bader, to get the people out to vote. And if you even look at Ali Hassan Joho himself, he also had camped in that area for quite a while. Why is it that you would go back to that point and say it was the strategy that was deployed by Bader, which was going to get his voters out to vote? You'd assume that would be an obvious thing for every candidate, to make sure that they're getting their people out to vote. What do you think ODM missed in this particular by-election?
That's what I'm saying. This was because of the overconfidence. For example, there's a day that the Bader team had done 15 rallies on a single day, while on the other side there were only three rallies that had been done by Boga. And also remember that at one time, for almost 2 weeks, Boga also, he came out, he was infected with the COVID-19, and he was in quarantine, he was in isolation, and even he's on witness during the submission of his documents. Someone, Mr. Omuya, who also died, and there's also another a supporter of him who also died, and these some also relaxed his rallies and also traversing the entire constituency. So while he was just recuperating in the hospital, this other team was still on campaign trail. And at one time, because initially the campaigns of Faisal Abdallah was being led by former senators, Machakos, that is Johnson Mtama. We had the former Kakamega Senator Boni Khalwale, then Mombasa Senator Hassan Omar. But they kept on changing faces when they were not with Bader. Then other teams also come in from outside, not only in Kwale County, but also outside the county. The other factor that I think has also played well is the factor that indeed there was the Kwale governor, Salim Buria, who even within this campaign period has been camping in the constituency. And remember, this issue of the bursary. The county government of Kwale has been giving bursaries of about 20 million per each ward. We have 20 wards. But now most of these bursaries have been concentrated towards the Msambweni constituency initially when we had this by-election. And at the same time, he had told Joho to keep off Kwale, saying Kwale is not a city of Mombasa. So this means that also the Kwale governor, Salim Buria, has also played a very big role in winning this seat.
So there was a supremacy battle here between Mburia and Ali Hassan Joho. Do you think...
indeed.
Do you think, as people were coming out to vote, they were considering that? Was it a Mburia Joho supremacy battle? Was it a Raila Ruto supremacy battle? Or were the voters in Msambweni just coming out to elect their leader without consideration of these are the bigger battles?
Although these two are rivals, especially between Mburia and Joho, these only two represented a bigger picture of the handshake versus the Hustler Nation led by the Deputy President William Ruto. But there are those who are saying they just came up to vote and saying that when it comes to the national politics, then there'll be other realignments. But most definitely, there are some issues, national politics, that also played a role. And I think they were sending some messages that it's no time to just maybe endorse someone who maybe the electorate don't like or so. But again, we still go there for the voter apathy because from the 69,000 voters, then we only have 27,000 people who voted. Then it's still a tight race. Even come 2022, the same faces will still emerge.
Let me ask this question. Now that you've been in Kwale and you have seen what you have seen, would you say that the electorate actually have a very clear understanding of who they prefer and who they do not prefer?
Currently, that is still not yet that, because I remember that Msambweni constituency is a cosmopolitan constituency, and we have also a sizable number of up-country people, especially in Ikunda division. We almost have like 40% of people who are not originally from the constituency, and therefore they tend to also vote in different ways. There's no any other ways for the past 10 years that I've covered Msambweni. There's no at any single time that the country votes have gone to a single person. So these will most also definitely play out even during the BBI and the 2022 elections.
Mm-hmm. But why I'm asking the question, it appears to me that the person who's genuinely popular in Kwale County is their governor. And so that the person the governor supports, irrespective of whatever support we have seen coming for this independent candidate, holds sway. Would you say that my statement is true, or is it just a figment of my imagination?
Somehow true, but I can also say this was also a do or die for Governor Salim Buria. I remember that this is his last term, and at the same time, the governor has endorsed his deputy, that is Fatuma Achani, to vie for the gubernatorial seat when it comes to 2022. And at the same time, the brother to Omar Boga, that's the ODM candidate, Professor Boga, who is currently the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture, he also has some ambition to vie as the Kwale County governor. So for Mvurya, this was a way of scuttling maybe bogus chances, so that come 2022, he'll not that have that much muscle to also even campaign for his brother for that gubernatorial seat.
2022 is a long way off, and between now and then, a lot could happen. But clearly, from where I sit, the people of Msamvweni have spoken.
Most definitely.
We want to thank you very much, Tobias. Tobias Changi is the Mombasa correspondent, the coast correspondent for KTN. Tobias has been covering these Msambweni by-elections since yesterday until the moment when the results are officially announced in the wee hours of this morning. Once again, the independent candidate Faiza Bader has won with 15,251 votes against Omar Boga of ODM with 10,444 votes. Tobias, asante sana for speaking to us. We know we're very tired. Just give you a moment to relax, sleep for a couple of hours.
Bro. Oh, thanks a lot.
Asante sana.
Thank you very much.
28 minutes to 9 o'clock. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. Let's take a look at the traffic and then we continue the conversation. 0719-012-600. Join in.
Thank you.
The political class, the contestants, everybody is trying to outsteal the other.
Remorse is not taught in any school. Manners is something you get from your mother. You don't get it from your political party.
Why are we so unfocused as a country? Why are we spending money and resources, yet we have real challenges in this country?
This coronavirus pandemic should teach us one thing, that universal health care is critical. Because at this point, whether you have a medical card that covers you, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Traffic
has really built up on Thika Road today. We're looking at the highway and the service lanes today, jam-packed, not moving. Now we are at bumper-to-bumper situation on Thika Road, and that's trying to get to the CBD. Problems this morning. Okay, in and out of Mombasa Road is not too bad. All the way from SGR and then outbound towards General Motors. It's not looking too terrible this morning. Where we're having problem is on the Thika Superhighway. And then we have some issues around where there's construction taking place. So we're looking at Bagathi Way, Tom Boyer Street, Westlands, the whole of Waiaki Way. And then out towards Uhuru Highway as you leave the University Way roundabout. So those are some of the problems that we're having this morning. However, it's not too bad. It's still moving. It's not a bumper-to-bumper situation apart from Thika Road. Okay? Let's know what direction you're headed. And if you're stuck anywhere, let us know too. We might be able to find an alternate route. Spice FMKE on Twitter. Text on 40127.
Sugar and spice and everything nice, everything nice. Spice FM.
All right, 25 to 9. You just heard from the correspondent there, Tobias Changi, who was telling us what has happened in Msambweni. So 15,251 against 10,444. That's about 4,000 plus votes. That's a gap between the winner, Faisal Bader, of the independent, it's not of the independent, but independent candidate, Faisal Bader, and ODM's Omar Boga. In the run-up to this, as Tobias was telling us, Raila was there, and Raila has said, this, what is happening here, is a litmus test for the support of ODM and what's going to happen. Not ODM, but the handshake and BBI. We saw the kind of messaging that was also being put forth by the leadership of the ODM, from the party leader to the Secretary General to the Deputy Party Leader, of course, Mombasa Governor Ali Hassan Joho to Kilifi Governor, who was also there campaigning, and all the others who were campaigning. And then, on the other hand, the independent candidate, Faisal Bader, who was getting support from a wing of the Jubilee Party and some ODM members. Let's not forget that the Malindi MP is an ODM member. So, was this a litmus test, really, of BBI? Was it of 2022? BBI, remember, the referendum is
It's coming.
It's coming in less than a year. So is this like an indicator of what is going to happen? Remember the same thing that I was saying early this morning, a tweet by Governor of Makueni County,
Kivutha Kibwana.
Professor Kivutha Kibwana, saying, yes, the people have shown you that BBI will be thrown out of the window. 40% voter turnout. Litmus test? Indicator?
Yes, it is an indicator. It is an indicator that if you don't vote, those who vote will carry the day. Yes. So, whether the 60% didn't vote or not, in this contest, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
The threshold isn't a percentage. It's just a majority, full stop. But secondly, even as we talk about the people who are considered the big boys of politics, there's one person who must be understood and spoken about. That is the governor of Kwale. The governor of Kwale is a governor who is not part of the ODM brigade. Yet, the assembly he has is predominantly ODM.
Right.
The MPs in his county are predominantly ODM. Now, it tells you something that this particular individual, the influence or the likability factor that he has transcends any political party. Now, this is a reality that has to be faced. And he is a two-term governor. Not a one-term governor, two-term.
First term under ODM, and then he decamped from ODM.
Yes.
And he still got elected.
But one thing that was then clear through both terms, that the one that completed and the one that's ongoing, is the development that was brought to Kwale, which residents of Kwale and constituents of Kwale throughout understand and see. Yes, we know that there was devolution. But if you want to do a comparative analysis between the development that has taken place in Kwale as a one-time devolved unit, as well as other counties that were devolved at the same time, it is incomparable in terms of the development that he has brought. Where it would have all previously been seen as far-flung area in terms of least development, in terms of literacy levels, social services and development, things that he has been able to do, he has resonated with his people. Resonated with his people so much so that we heard the sentiments that, even as Tobias talked to us now, whereby people have seen Kwale as a sub-county of Mombasa, and people are saying, no, we are standing up on our own. Look at what it is that, through the leadership of this governor, has been done on the ground. We're sticking by this guy. So apart from where he decamped from and where he took up leadership in another party, however, the development agenda that he's been able to bring has resonated with the people, and they're saying, okay, well, if this is who he's backing, guess what? By virtue of the fact that we've seen what he's been able to do, if he backs this fellow, then we're going to go with him.
But the report that our correspondent in Kwale gave was very detailed. You see, look at the details of it. The ailment that the ODM candidate had notwithstanding, look at the thorough nature in which the campaign for the independent candidate was undertaken. Just if you listen to the details, and then you look at the numbers, it means they had a team, they had a system. People in his part of the neck of the woods, where he comes from, turned out in large numbers. It stood out to
the
me.
Work.
Yes, and Mr. Boga, the area he comes from, the turnout was 28%.
It was assumed.
How on earth does that happen?
28% of your voters versus 80% of his voters.
What do you expect is going to happen? And by virtue of the fact, it wasn't just sitting around, but you can see that they did the work. In terms of turning over the tables, even whether it was in terms of civic education, talking to people, saying, come out and vote. This is what we have in terms of plans for this particular area. People did the work. It was not an assumed exercise that by virtue of the fact that you bear a certain name or position, that people are going to come out and vote for you. They did the work. And so if anything, there's another lesson right there. You do the work, you get the results. You put in the sweat, you will get the result.
I'm reminded of an anecdotal statement or conversation that was had in the time when President Obama was campaigning. One of the strategies they used was a door-to-day campaign, and they even had young people campaigning for him.
Yeah.
And one young person who was clearly not of voting age was asked the question, but you're not of age. Why on earth are you involved in this process? No, I'm paraphrasing it. It's the future. This person represents the future I am going to. So I am trying to make sure that I have a footprint in that future that I'm going to. Now, when you have someone like Mvurya, whose track record is sterling. And his people have resonated, they have accepted. If there's a third term, I actually believe the gentleman would actually get a third term.
They would give
if there's a third term. So if they trust him, because it's now trust that much, surely the person that he supports will have traction.
That's it. Let's go to the phone lines. We'd like you to join this conversation. So we had several mini battles. There was a battle between the independent candidate Faisal Bader and Omar Boga. There was a battle between the governor of Mombasa and the governor of Kwale. There was a battle between Raila Odinga and William Ruto. Let's have a conversation about all these three battles. Mr. Ngoge calling in from Likoni. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
I want to contribute a bit. One of the problems I think Boga could not make it is because it's like he doesn't like upcountry people. He'll talk to you very well, but when he takes a turn, now he talks ill of the upcountry people. I think he was also talking lies of the project that he has carried out. One being what we call Babla Diani Secondary School, the Palin Center.
Yes.
I was the principal there. And let me tell you that there is no single parent, there is no single cent from the parents. Even the other members, even the community.
Yes.
They just contributed the ground. It was a project by people, let me not mention them.
Well-wishers, call them well-wishers.
Well-wishers.
Yes.
But then I'm told when he was campaigning, he was saying that he's the one who put up that school.
He was the well-wisher.
I know. He never paid even a single cent.
Right.
You see that?
Yes, we hear you.
And the issue of now talking ill of the upcountry people and saying that they went to grab their pieces of land, I think also worked against him.
So how did that play out? Are you saying that many of the upcountry people who were voting then voted against him?
I'm one of them. I didn't vote for him.
Okay.
Yes.
And this is a sentiment that is shared by others.
And Matthew is my friend, and he was even a board member of that school. But when I have a property there in Ukunda, and when somebody talks about people came to grab our pieces of land, I don't will chase them away, something like that. People also ganged up. People from up country, the few that I talked to, they were not very happy with that.
Even the narrative that you have, Mwalimu, it's not people from our up countries, people whose origins were up country, but people who are now part of the constituency or part of the population of the coast. I mean, there's an ownership issue here of where you are, where you've invested, and where you live. Everyone came from somewhere at some point.
You're right.
Yes, but where we are right now, even if it's in this country, or if you're talking real history, where we originated from, whether it's South Africa, North Africa, West Africa, wherever it is, but the truth is, you are part and parcel of that community that you come from.
But then when somebody now starts threatening or hear people, somebody issuing threats, we also gang up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are you saying that the influence, that the population of people who originally came from what we call Bara is significant enough to have changed the voting outcome?
I'm telling you, there are very many in Ukunda. And I was even talking to a friend of mine.
Yes.
Who was saying that he's being asked why we even don't have a representative of any of the upcountry people in the county assembly. And you see, if they can front one, they can still come up with a candidate, and he can also be elected. And let me also say the influence of Mvurya also played a big role.
How exactly?
Let me tell you. I used to vote in Likoni.
Yes.
But because of what Mvurya was doing, I transferred my vote from Likoni to Samweni.
What was Mvurya doing?
Because of when it comes to education, That guy is so good. He has paid fees for kids who have been called to national schools. And he doesn't discriminate whether you are from, whether your name reads somebody from up country or from wherever. Provided that the child has got a letter from a national school, he pays his full fees, and even the university.
Right.
So why can't I vote for him because of that? Yeah, he's so good. Mvurya is so good, and he's a manager. He's not a politician.
I see. And so when we talk about now that bit of rivalry between Mvurya and Ali Hassan Joho of Mombasa, how was it playing out in Msambweni in this by-election?
Let me confess, I don't know.
Okay.
Because mine was just to vote, and I love my governor. Though Joho is also my governor down here in Likoni. But I think Mvurya has done a lot for the Msambweni, for Kwale people.
Okay. Mr. Ngoge, thank you very much for calling us this morning.
Thank you very much.
Asante sana. 0719-012-600. Are you a voter in Msambweni? Are you from Msambweni? Maybe you are a voter but you did not participate. You're a voter but you participated. Or you know people who are there. Just give us your views on this. What exactly has happened here? And the independent candidate is the one who has clinched this particular seat, 15,251 against Omar Boga of ODM, 10,444. The third candidate got 790. None of the other candidates got even to 800 votes. So there's a lot that we are seeing, we are reading out of this. We've been speaking to Tobias Changi, who is the Kwale correspondent for KTN, and he was telling us about how they were campaigning, how the independent candidate and his supporters were campaigning, how the team was campaigning for Omar Boga. And now we've heard from Ngoge also the sentiment of some of the voters there. Solomon is calling in from Mombasa. Let's hear from him. Solomon, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you today?
I'm not a voter in Msambweni, but I have friends who live there. And from their reaction and opinion is nowadays parties have an impact, but as we are moving towards 2022, parties will be relevant. Individuals will be the key thing. Because irrespective of the party, people look at you, the kind of person you are, and your past. And that's why I always say the internet doesn't forget, and people never forget what you say to them. So as you're campaigning, maybe if you say something bad 5 years ago, 10 years ago, people never forget. So people will always keep that, and they see the leadership not when you're campaigning. People are now being, because of the civic education, people are trying to understand, when I'm voting for someone, where this person is going to take me, how is this person as an individual by himself? Mtu anajibeba kivipi? So and that's what we find nowadays, independent candidates are taking the day.
People are now voting for the person, not the political party.
Yeah, like for example, where I come from in Kiambu, we voted Django was an independent candidate. And you see, and of course in Central Province, for example, Jubilee was taking the day and everything. Yes.
Thank you very much, Solomon. Jimmy in Malindi, good morning.
Good morning, too. How are you?
Fine.
Fine, thank you, Jimmy.
Fine, thank you. I'm in Malindi, but I've got families and friends living in Msambweni.
Yes.
Yes, and the information that I have is that people have decided to choose not from a party. People will look at who suits them best. Because many people have been doing a mistake in Coast Province, voting for a party. And this time, if there is anybody who may want to go into politics and into any leadership, you don't have to go through the hassle of looking for different parties. As long as you know you are clean and people respect you, you just take an independent candidate, be one of them, and move on. People are tired with the name party.
When you say people, who exactly do you have in mind?
I mean me, my wife, and this brother who is next to me here. So what I want to say is this. I am a registered member of the Jubilee. I have a number. I paid 30 shillings to get a card, my Jubilee identity card. You know the card that's Jubilee, the membership of Jubilee.
But now you're tired of that.
I'm not tired. I am mad tired of it because I wonder, why would my party not put a candidate in any election, any by-election? Why would my party refuse to do that? I am a member. Have they consulted me? Yes. Remember, we said that it was all about democracy. And what do we expect from democracy? We expect each and every person who is a member of Jubilee has a phone number.
Jimmy, surely, Jimmy,
This is the way in which you want to
surely. Since when do political parties ask the opinions of all their members as to what they should do?
Do you support us having a candidate in Msambweni? We say no or we say yes. But unfortunately, it seems that it is the committee which decides for the people.
So Jimmy, you'd have wanted Jubilee to have a candidate
in each and every by-election in this country.
Participate,
and we win because we are going through a memorandum of understanding. We have a memorandum of understanding where that we are going to do this, we are going to do the 4 agendas. So if we fail to put our candidates there, it means the people who are members of Jubilee of that place, we will fail to get the 4 agenda.
But Jimmy, please remember that Jubilee is a bit fragmented even as we speak and has been for quite some time. We've had the president and his deputy appearing to pull from different sides. So the Jubilee hasn't, if I look at just the optics, hasn't been as cohesive as it could be. So even the thing that you desire, when you have a party that seems to be torn apart from within, how then can there be a consensus as to what the party as a party can actually do?
Because the reason of the push and pull that Jubilee have now, and that's why it's a reason why you're putting that we cannot feed in a candidate, because even if we do that and there's a push and pull from these 2 principles, now I don't look at that. I look at what is causing the 2 principles pull each other. We deal with the problem. What is that? Then if there is anything that is causing the 2 principles to pull against each other, that is what we deal with. Either the 2 principles accept it, or if the one has refused it, then we ask the members of the party. Then the members of the party, because obviously I don't believe they are private issues which are pulling them. It is party issues and leadership. Then we, the member of the party, we say that, okay, we are not interested with what is making you pull each other. Break it. Or we support that which is making you pull each other. Look, my brother, look at the bigger picture in this. You see, we discuss this issue. When you say a party, means you have given a chance for the other person to discuss with you.
To be heard as well, and you reach a consensus.
Yes.
Or you agree to disagree.
Yes, agree to disagree. But there is a small line of weakness somewhere, and that tells me we no longer have a Jubilee party. So if only I can be sent back my 30 shillings that I contributed to get this card, and I give them back their card, I'm not interested anymore because they're not following what we are doing. Or if not that, I just accept that they called me.
The money has been spent.
Don't worry, Jimmy. Ellie in Mtwapa, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
How are you?
Good morning.
I'm fine, thank you.
All right, Msambweni, what do you read?
My contribution is that I think that the ODM party failed due to, by the time that Raila went to those areas by saying that this one we want to weigh between BBI so that they can win. So, some people love maybe Boga, but they don't like BBI.
Okay.
So, for people to in a direction that I like Boga, but
I don't like BBI.
Go the other side. So that one was so summer. Another mess, Kwale has been developed since Voria took it. So these people say that, okay, if Voria can do things like this, why should we give ODM? And ODM is also telling people that they are forcing people. If maybe, let me talk about Kibra. By the time that Nani died,
Kenokoth.
I cannot remember the name, but
Kenokoth.
Yes, they decided to give his brother, but his brother is not working the way the other guy was working.
Are you
So
sure?
they're not yes, of course. If you
Remember,
can see-
the brother was actually the constituency fund manager. So if you talk about the person who actually implemented projects within that constituency, it was this gentleman who is now the MP.
you know, we have statistics and the way people are working, and we are seeing that the late worked more than the brother.
You're not
Even
feeling the
though
effect. We are not feeling the effect that the brother has yet. Maybe just give him
Yes.
time and you start observing and seeing what is it that Imran Okoth is doing on the ground. But anyway, thank you very much, Eli, for calling in to Upper. Let's hear from Hussein in Nairobi. Hussein, good morning.
Yeah, morning, Eric.
How are you today?
Fine, very, very fine. Mine is just to say one thing.
Yep.
Seems like Raila and the ODM brigade is actually losing the course. But I can be very honest with you. I'm really worried about the way Jubilee is going right now.
Okay.
As a sound supporter of the party. And what is really worrying me is the attitude of, let's say, the political class in Jubilee. It seems like actually done. We're actually going to the populism kind of politics right now. Things have gone, in other words. Yeah. And the so-called hustlers brigade is actually taking over, which is actually very, very worrying.
Why
Yeah,
are you
that's
worried?
actually my point. Yeah, actually, the populism nature of their politics, yeah, where there are no limits to anything, to everything, it's actually very, very, very worrying. So I'm really worried about Jubilee right now.
So what did you tell those who are not in the Tanga wing of Jubilee, like yourself? What do they need to do to counter this populism?
I think it is, well, it is the high time. It is the high time guys started looking at their political future. Because you know what populism can do. You've seen the U.S. Trumpism, what it can do. Yeah. It is a high time that the political class start looking at things differently. Because the way things are, Jubilee is gone. Yeah.
Do you really think, if I may ask, that the political class, as we call them, are really capable of looking at things in a different way unless it actually favors them or unless they can actually see clear benefits from it?
Well, the plan for the handshake was very, very good in the first place. I mean, trying to save the party, trying to save the face of the party, trying to come up with better policies. Yeah, but now you can see also the handshake, the other part of the handshake other than the Jubilee is actually being trumped. So the attitude is actually what is worrying me, to be honest. These guys don't care. No one is talking. No one is worried. No one is actually talking about what is happening right now. It's like they're actually supporting the so-called hustlers wing.
I think there's something
getting out of
that you're saying, Hussein. And if you don't mind, would you stay on the line for a bit? Let's get to the top of the hour, look at traffic, and then continue this conversation.
Right.
There's something that you're saying, and we'd like to get it out actually nicely. Keep it right
All
here.
right.
This is the Situation Room. It's now 9 o'clock. Good morning.
Spice up your life. 94.4 Spice FM. Nairobi. Traffic.
Okay, so we have this heavy traffic right around Magadi Road between Tuskys and the Maasai Lodge. Now, unfortunately, this is due to burning of business containers that caught on fire last night. It was wired, and this is the second time such has happened, but that is causing traffic. It's going all the way down Magadi Road and then joining with Langata Road. Unfortunately, this morning, that's what is going on. Thika Road still continues to be slow. It's not a bumper-to-bumper situation still, but then getting out into the CBD is taking you slower than it normally would. Apart from that, traffic seems to be flowing smoothly in different parts of the city, and it shouldn't have too many problems where you are at. Okay, talk to us, however, Spice FMKE on Twitter or text on 40217.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room,
so
the only way to start your day.
Faisal Badar, independent candidate supported by the Tanga wing of Jubilee, has won 15,251. ODM candidate Omar Boga, supported also by the Kieleweke wing of Jubilee, 10,444. The other candidates, the third candidate was a Wiper candidate with 790 votes, and the others had fewer votes than that. We have on the line Hussein, who is a caller calling in from Nairobi, and he says, just looking at what is happening in Msambweni is an indication of what is worrying you, Hussein. And you're saying you're worried. You're worried at how things are going in Jubilee, to which you're a member and a staunch supporter.
Hello.
Hi, Hussein. So, when you say that this is worrying, and you've mentioned something, you've mentioned that the other side that is not in the Tanga wing of Jubilee is behaving as if they're very comfortable and confident, and they shouldn't be, because there is populism that's taking over Jubilee, and this populism is not good for the country. So what is it that you'd like to see the, let's just call them the Kieleweke wing of Jubilee to do?
Yes. I think. Thank you very much, Eric and the team, for having me in this call. I've actually been analyzing the way the opposing side of Kieleweke, let me not call them what they are, what they have been actually been doing and trying to disintegrate the party and all that. I think it comes from what Kieleweke wing wants. Because to be honest, the way actually it's happening right now is like they don't care. They can lose picture of how actually they are carrying themselves. It's like they don't care. It's like, okay, now it seems like this other side are much more stronger than us. Yeah, so let's try and see if we can be able to cling on this ODM party. ODM, in fact, actually ODM itself is actually disintegrating by itself. Things are actually not going the way they are. You see now they have lost.
So Kieleweke has been swallowed. In your view, Kieleweke has been swallowed by ODM. To
be honest, the way things are going, Kieleweke is normal. I mean, the noise that they were making about, you know what, we have to integrate the party together. Yeah. I mean, that thing has gone. I mean, guys have to wake up and actually look at the way things are going, because the country is actually going to the wrong direction. I mean, the populism nature of politics is not what we are used to. I mean, you cannot have someone talking about wheelbarrows and thinking that, okay, now I can give the youth wheelbarrows and they can work with wheelbarrows. And you've heard actually what that party member was talking about. He paid 30 bob to get a card, and he is actually feeling so bad about what is happening in Jubilee right now. I mean, it's the callous nature and the carelessness and the recklessness of the Kieleweke wing is actually what has brought us to this level right now. And it seems that they don't care. So I think it's the high time that the youth who really care about this country, to move forward, we really have to actually wake up and see, you know what, populism is taking it. I mean, what can we do as the young people in this country? Because we don't want to go to the level that we are going right now.
If I may ask, when you ascribe fault to one wing of the Jubilee Party, are you saying, do I understand you to be saying that the other wing, the Tanga, had no part whatsoever and that they are faultless?
Okay, they were together. It was Jubilee actually in 2013. I mean, we never knew about anything to do with that. Actually, it was CNA and URP, and it comes and it formed to be a Jubilee party. We never knew about what actually is going to happen right now. Yeah? But the way things are going right now, it is a high time that we started looking at our politics, because we are not used to the populism nature. We are not used to the way a street person can become a governor of a major city in the country, and then now we are in problems. We are not used to such kind of politics, to be honest. Yes. And it's actually the high time that we have to wake up. As the young people of this country, we have to wake up and actually see the way things are going. It is really, really worrying. I hope I'm making sense.
Thank you very much for your opinion. However, remember, people become political leaders because they are elected.
Yes.
So you may have an opinion about them, and you may even have the opinion that they shouldn't be in the position that they're in, but it appears that the electorate would disagree with you. Because for someone to be elected, it means there's something about them that the people who are voting for him like.
Yeah, there's something that they presented to the people.
100%.
They could have duped the people, though.
Yes, I agree.
Or they
with you
don't have
100%.
another option that has been presented that is far better than that, which is what is available.
Actually,
and maybe that's what
the
Hussein is
option-
saying, that they need to be
the-
presented
yes.
better options, no?
Yep.
Eric has just said
thank
that
you.
the vote
Thank
is
you very much.
dupable. Yes.
Yes. Actually, it's populism.
So
Simple. It's populism.
As you keep saying,
Like-
Hussein, it's time for the
Yes.
young people then to take over the reins. What is it that you'd like the young people to do? Present better
Actually, I want to
candidates?
understand, how young must they be?
Okay, not the young of the Jubilee political class, of course. I saw a very versatile young man talking in the BBI lounge, and actually raised some very, very valid points. I mean, that is the kind of thinking that we need, and leadership. Actually, when it comes to leadership, I think the young people need to look at it differently. It's not about like making riches. I mean, making money and all that. I mean, it's all about now, where do we want to go next? Yeah, because wow, I don't know. It's just shocking.
Don't despair, Hussein.
Yes.
Asante sana for
But thank
joining
you very
us.
much. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you very much, guys, for having me.
Thank you for your contribution, Hussein.
Asante.
0719-012-600. Let's go to today's Proverb City as we look at other comments that are coming in on social media.
An elephant does not limp when walking on thorns. Remember, not on when they're tiptoeing on thorns, walking.
On thorns.
They stomp on it and just continue walking as per normal.
Don't know what thorns are.
You don't?
Elephants.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Comments.
Okay, it is a wake-up call, according to Atieno Germain, to ODM to shelve its structured selection of candidates. It's time they allow people to choose. The so-called litmus test results are out. Griffin Omedo says, this is a clear indication and manifestation that we Kenyans will vote for who we think will work best in our interest and not those bestowed to us by political parties. So Patrick Kirigu says, at a DP coming 2022, he doesn't need a party to win. We shall sail all through. Hustler Nation tukusawa, ata mkikataa kutangaza kama ile ya Kibra, we are on the ground. DP products will sail in 2022. That's very interesting that that's coming out from this, that it is a direct indication that people are choosing, that the results of Msambweni from people's minds means that people are essentially choosing DP Ruto for 2022.
The question that I would ask is, does that sentiment resonate with the people of Msambweni who actually voted? Because at the end of the day, remember, if you vote for an MCA, are you voting for your MP? Are you voting for the governor? Or
are you voting for your MCA?
For the person in your ward who you think will, should we say, have your interests at
It's a
heart?
mixed bag.
Yes.
There are many who vote for the MCA and there are very many others who vote for the party. That's six pigs mentality.
For the suit.
Yeah. You just go in and you're looking at the person I'm interested in is the president. Everybody else are lying.
Mini, miny, moe.
Yeah.
Would you then say that even as we're talking about 2022 and heading in that, hurtling very fast in that direction, that this is what is going to hold sway? Because we are hearing people commenting and stating that people are thinking more in terms of the individual candidate as opposed to the party. Do you think that this is actually a sentiment that represents 2022?
Does it really? Because at the same time, you have other sentiments that people are saying people will choose who they see will fit their best interest. At the end of the day, I think that's what's going to carry the day here.
What we're saying is, will they divorce themselves from party affiliations and simply look at the individual?
That's what has happened here.
Yes.
So why is it that
it has
those-
happened before in
Yeah.
many other constituencies in the
Yeah.
country? But you see, for it to be something that is considered the norm, it has to happen to a lot more.
Yep. And then also you have to look at it, even holistically. You cannot say that because people have voted an independent candidate in Msambweni, then that necessarily means that they are looking at the individual and not a party. Remember, this person was being campaigned for by people from other political parties.
True.
Not he wasn't alone. And at the same time, you cannot say that low voter turnout in Omar Boga's supposed strongholds is because they were rebelling against the party.
No.
Some may have decided, just like a caller was saying, that it was Eli who was calling from Mtwapa. He was saying that there are some people who, when Raila said this is about BBI, then they thought, I don't like BBI.
And that was that.
If participating in this election gives you the confidence that BBI, that was it.
But think about it, Eric. Does it not bring out just the variety of issues which in any electoral process actually come into play?
Yeah.
Because here was Mr. Ngugi telling us there is a sizable population of people who originated from what we call upcountry or Bara, who are resident in Ukunda. Our correspondent at the coast, Tobias, also told us the same. And there is a sentiment, if we're to believe what Mr. Ngugi told us, that Mr. Boga does not particularly like what are called Watuabara, people of our country. And they are a significant
number
of the voting population in that particular place. So that's one issue. There's the issue of this gentleman who was then voted in. There's the issue of one Mvurya who was supporting him. There is the issue of people who came to campaign for him. So even as you look at all this, it's like the composite of all these variables coming into play that elected him. But I would ask, what is the thing that stands out? What is the thing that tipped this particular edge? What is it? And I would argue,
It's the character.
Yes, it can't be. I'm arguing that it can't be one thing. You can put it to three. You can say him, the support of his governor, because his governor is definitely a very popular person, and which means the person is trusted. So if he says, look, this is the person who I think can be useful, people say, look, if
by extension and association,
if His Excellency says this guy is okay, then
Sour.
yes. Now you see, why do I say this? It's the same thinking that political parties have, in the belief that the people who vote will have a certain following and a faith in a political party and the leadership. So when the leadership says this is the person, they will then fall in line and follow.
And vote for that person
Yes.
because the party has chosen for us.
Yes.
So litmus test as well for political parties. Don't come and tell us that this is the person. Allow us to be the ones that select the person that we want.
Look, I think also when you see things, when you see things happening quietly, or when you see that there's not a lot of noise and fanfare, you may want to pay attention to the results that are being gotten in that area. Kwale again came out as an area where nobody really knew what was going on. You have a one-time governor comes in, second-time governor continues doing his work, not shouting, not making so much noise out there in public.
No fanfare.
Doing what he needed. Remember all this political noise that came out over the weekend? What was happening? He was giving out bursaries so that school could continue. That's where all this drama erupted from. He was still doing his job, right? Been doing his work. You don't know how far those tentacles have reached. So by the time a by-election comes out in his county, people have already paid their allegiance to him. And so by virtue of the fact that he opens his mouth or that he throws his support behind this guy, can't take it for granted either. Now, he gets out of that governorship, right? You can't take it for granted either. It could be litmus test right here, that if he whispers or blows in a certain direction, come 2022 as well, people are likely to listen to him. So yes, it could be indicative of what would happen in 2022. If he then says, okay guys, this is the way in which I think things should go, or this is who I would ask that you throw your support behind, by virtue of the fact that I support them, and what I've shown you that my ilk is likely to do, please, go ahead. So I think it could be indicative of what could come in the next 2 years.
It is indicative, but how do you remove a stranglehold? Because when it comes to party affiliations, it's not just a liking. It's not a passing phase. It's a stranglehold. Case in point, similar to this one. Kisumu, Shakil Shabir, stood for the ODM nominations, was left out. Stood as an independent candidate.
Was elected.
He was elected. And you're talking about a stronghold where people are ODM supporters. So you then have to ask the question, what sort of person must this be then? Because
So
it looks like the party machinery at the level when he was actually being selected did not think he was the best candidate. And yet the people who vote thought otherwise. And again, if you talk to people who come from that particular constituency, they'll tell you, all Shabir does is give people help during funerals and do the other. And sometimes I think they miss the point. It's not funerals. It is what those people consider to be important. And funerals for many people are not funerals. It's a time of need when you require support. So if he provides support at that time, they consider him to someone who resonates with their problems.
Akufai kwa dhiki.
Yes, exactly.
Ndiye
So,
rafiki.
again, as our caller mentioned, if you look at remember he told us that there was an independent candidate elected in Kiambu. What I'm wondering is, do we see an increase of people being voted in contrary to certain trends that we've seen? Because if we see an increase, then this narrative that people are changing will be true.
I think we can say that we do. But let's take a break. At 17 minutes after 9, Akufai Kotiki is a friend in need.
Oh, okay.
He's a friend indeed.
Got it.
Okay, so let's look at the weather and then we continue the conversation. 0719-012-600. What does this win of independent candidate Faisal Badar mean? In Msambweni, in the coast and nationally. Litmus tests for BBI. Litmus tests for Ali Hassan Joho in the battle for supremacy of that area against Salim Mvurya, the governor of Kwale. So join the conversation.
24/7 around the world, non-stop. This is Spice FM. They are smart, they are funny, and unfailingly entertaining. They are the adults in the room, and they are here to help you be the best adult you can be.
Just to be very honest with each other here, not all of us are going to get tall, dark, and handsome. Not all of us are going to get 0.5s or chotaras. Some of us have to learn the short guys. Some of us have to learn those pot-bellied people. Some of us have to learn older men or younger men.
Spice.
Don't ask your partner if he or she enjoyed it. I think the approach should always be, if she's enjoyed the journey, she will let you know.
Yeah.
She'll tell you, hey, maze, your bus is big. Mi sijaipanda basi kubwa kama hii. Juu hata hii basi, hiyo mafuta tulieka yote, imetuleta hapa vizuri. Hii basi iko na nguvu. Hii basi iko na nguvu.
Spice.
Now into a relationship, it becomes like you've stopped your life, and then now me, I am your life. You see, like, what happened to your life? What happened to you? What did you
And
used to do?
women are guilty about that. No,
Is your wife listening to the show?
Whether it is matters of the heart, finances, or work that's weighing on your mind, worry not. The adults in the room will help you stay winning. The weather with
It's
Spice
sunny in
FM.
Nairobi at 19. Going to highs of 27 today. It'll get much warmer throughout today. Partly sunny in Nakuru. Highs will be 26 and lows of 14. It's partly sunny in Nyeri at 17. Going to highs of 25. Coming down to lows of 14. 11 will be the low in Eldoret. Partly sunny at 16. And the highs will be 24. Kisumu is mostly cloudy at 21. Going to highs of 29 and lows of 20. It's mostly cloudy in Kakamega this morning at 21. Still warm though. Going to highs of 31 and then down to lows of 16. Continues to rain in parts of Mombasa this morning. Highs of 31 and lows of 25. But it's mostly cloudy in Malindi at 21. Going to highs of 30. It's mostly sunny in Kampala at 21, going to highs of 27 and lows of 18, where it's mostly cloudy in Dar es Salaam this morning. Highs of 31 and lows of 26. Johannesburg is sunny at 16, highs of 22 today, lows of 14, and 100% chance of rain later on. It's still raining in Lagos at 25. We'll see highs of 31 and lows of 24 and sunny conditions in Kinshasa at 24, we'll see highs of 30. Beijing is sunny at 3, highs of 3, just that, and lows of -9. We're in Paris at 6 degrees, we'll see highs of 10 and fog throughout most parts of the city for most parts of today. It's mostly cloudy in London at 10, going to highs of 11 and down to lows of 9. And now into Wednesday morning in New York, it's 1 degree, clear skies, that'll be the high, and lows of -3.
Spice FM, Malindi. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
All right, 21
Done
minutes
right.
to 9.
94.
719-012-600. What does this win by the independent candidate Faisal Badar in Msambweni mean? Was this the litmus test for BBI? Was it litmus test for Ali Hassan Joho? Should now Joho just decide, okay, sawa. Ni sawa basi.
He should face Mombasa.
Remember there was that issue of trying to impeach Governor Mvurya through the county assembly.
How did that one go?
It didn't go.
It was a dud. Just didn't
Dead in the
explode.
water.
Doof. Nothing happened. And now here we see in this by-election where Ali Hassan Joho had clearly put his stakes all out there and said, this one, I'm campaigning for this candidate so that we can win. And then Mvurya was the other side campaigning for his candidate so that they can win. Now it's clear which side has won.
Actually, this narrative has been there for quite some time. Huh? Even before Jubilee started showing us signs of infighting. I was about to use the word disintegration, and I'm not sure it is disintegrating. Infighting is a better word, I think. You would find that in every by-election, this conversation would take place. And the narrative that would hold sway was that there is this big fight. Okay?
Yeah.
And the narrative of a deputy president and the Right Honorable Raila coming, it has been there. And the narrative had been that a loss for either side was supposed to have some phenomenal meaning. The outcome was supposed to be phenomenal. The truth is, there's nothing phenomenal that happened. Just beyond the loss. Nothing phenomenal. Why don't I bring this particular example to the recent case of Kibera? The fact that the candidate who the deputy president was supporting lost. Did it change anything fundamental? No, it didn't. Apart from the loss, there was nothing fundamental. Did the deputy president suddenly lose stature, or did he become weaker in terms of his political following? The answer is no.
But did he gain anything?
Yes, he did.
Okay.
Experience.
Okay, there you go. Maybe it's something important.
No, actually losing is a far better experience.
It's a big thing
to go through than even winning.
Let's hear from
eyes.
Kuria.
Yes.
Kuria is calling from Nyeri and he wants to contribute to this conversation. Kuria, good morning.
Morning, how are you?
We're fine, thank you.
Cool. Now we are getting in the right direction. We are superbly getting in the right direction. Ask yourself, among the governors that you normally interview there, we always listen every morning. Don't you see that this guy from Laikipia always has content? What is his name? I think Murithi, huh? Perito Murithi.
It's called Murithi, yes.
That guy has matter. Matter is something that has substance. People in Laikipia say that and say, we are not going to vote for a party. We are going to vote for an individual who has his own manifesto and he is getting cognizant with what we want. So the same case, Mwalimu has talked about Kibera. Ken Okos, the late Ken Okos, that guy was in touch with the local people from Kibera. There is no I courier from Nyeri would come there with a Mashinani party and you expect me to win. Because that guy resonates with the people on the ground. And that's why at least I would like to congratulate you, because now you are going to the people you interview there, you are making us get enlightened on the people we need to vote, who are going to in turn lead us to the right way.
Very kind of you, sir. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, and have a Merry Christmas to every one of you.
You too. Happy holidays,
Thank you.
Kuria.
You too.
Okay, asante.
Asante sana. You had actually asked that question, which was, are we seeing an incremental change in this? The number of independent candidates, the number of people who are actually elected as independents. This is one. Okay, so against the tide, even where the people of Nyeri, where Kuria is calling from, in the last election, they elected a governor who was from one of those small parties. GNU, the late governor Nderito Gachagua, he was not in TNA, which was the dominant party in central Kenya at the time. He was not in any of those big parties, but the people went for the person. In Laikipia, same thing has happened. We talk about the independent candidate in the independent senator of Kirinyaga County.
Yes.
Why?
It's the people.
Then I'm
The
saying
people
why,
choose the person.
Right, but why the person? I don't think it's just because they look nice. It's got to be something deeper
How
than
do you
that.
know?
I would hope it's not. What is it? Something that they're doing? Do they have a track record in their previous position? What is it about this individual that resonates to the point whereby the all-powerful party, which previously was the be-all and end-all of everything, right? That has been thrown out the window, and people want this individual. Is it that whether they were not, even if they were not in government before, if they were in a previous position, they did something, there was a trend that they had, that people thought they would carry this on into a leadership position? Was there a likability factor beyond what they look like that somebody says, I can trust this person? There must be something that then is, if we're saying a norm is forming, a trend is forming, there must be something that is fueling these decisions.
They lie better.
No. To answer your question, you really need to answer this question and look at the regions of this country, and you'll find that there are specific characteristics that stand out. Central Kenya, for instance, have some of the highest turnovers of political leadership. They regurgitate leaders. They, my friend, you're brought in.
Then you're taken out.
Out. Brought in, out. It's like you've had your turn. Let's give somebody else a chance, right? Now, you have to ask yourself, what leads to this thinking? How do they understand political leadership? Is it in the individual? Or is it in, okay, everybody has their turn, like the canton system in Switzerland, where you know it's rotational. After this, there's this. After this, there's this. What is it that, what you'll find is not one thing, it's a mixed bag. There are those who have a reputation and have a track record that people like. Okay? And they feel this person will likely look after our interest. There are certain positions where they figure, these things that MPs are supposed to do, we don't really need anyone to do these things for us. Because we don't have those problems. So why don't we just rotate? Whose son got it the last time? Okay, this clan. Why don't we? Now, the question that we're asking, I think, goes beyond that and we're saying, other regions of this country, when they elect, is it that they feel that these political parties dominate them and they don't have their own, and so they would like something of their own, or they feel this one represents their interests? Or do some people feel that their interests are only taken care of by this particular party, and they don't see how a change is going to take care of their interests, and they'll stick with this party? That narrative holds sway, I think, so long as the leader of that party is still strong. Kanu was strong until Moi stopped being president.
And
So
then
maybe
things change.
And then things changed.
Let's hear from Jeffrey before you come in, Ndu. Jeffrey in Mombasa. Good morning.
Good morning, Eric, Du, and City Muga.
Jeffrey, good morning.
Good morning to you. How are you?
Salama kabisa.
Well, first and foremost, I want to express my satisfaction for what the Msambweni people have proved to this entire country. That change is inevitable. It's not a time that we should stick on parties, but we should stick on ideas. I don't personally know this festival, but I think his win has been as a result of what Mvuria has proved to Kwale people. Mvuria is on record. He's a leader. He's not a politician. And even from his expression, you realize there is leadership ability in that guy. And that's why I'll say our deputy president has been on record telling other politicians that indeed those Kenyans who are being directed by politics are no longer there. They're changing. So this is the way to go.
Winds of change are blowing.
They are indeed. And Spice FM, congratulations. You are part and parcel of this wing of change. And that's why I love listening to your conversation.
Thank you, Jeffrey.
Jeffrey.
Thank you very much, sir.
You are awesome people, honestly speaking. I wish everybody will be able to listen to you. And this transformation will not need even the civil society. You are acting in that position. I'll tell you for free.
Asante sana.
You are great people. May God bless you so much and keep up with the good work you are doing for Kenyans.
Thank you
Thank
so
you very
much.
much, Jeffrey.
Have a great day.
Asante, you too.
You too, Jeffrey. Would you like to praise us as well? 0719 012 our
Talk
M-Pesa
about Christmas
number.
wishes.
Our M-Pesa number. Able to send that money into Mshwari so that the M-Pesa is open. Is also open. You can call in right now. 9:30. Take a break now. Let's see what's happening on the roads. There's a comment I've just seen there on the traffic channel. Just scroll down a bit. Someone was giving what happens when you have an accident. Motorist and cyclist, border guy. So the motorist is like, "Why have you hit me? Don't you have eyes? Could you see?" And the border guy is like, "I didn't hit you. You're the one who braked."
24/7 around the world, non-stop. This is Spice FM.
In the face of COVID-19, life has been adversely affected, with nearly all schools in Kenya lacking basic hand-washing facilities, affecting more than 19 million children. Together with Davis and Shatliff and True Black, we, the Standard Group, have partnered to collectively unite other corporates and individuals to join the initiative towards setting up basic sanitation facilities around the country. For more information, send an SMS to the short code 40616 or email standwithkenya@standardmedia.co.ke. Time to come together for tomorrow. It's our future. A partnership by Davis and Shatliff and True Black and the Standard Group.
Sugar and spice and everything nice, just the way you like it.
The Spice Drive.
Did you have a great day? I hope you did. I intend to make it better from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. I'm going to be taking you home nice and chill. Everyone is welcome aboard. The hashtag is Spice Drive and, of course, Spice FMKE on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
The Spice Drive with Monique. The official
Okay, so
soundtrack of getting you where
hotspot
you...
Magadi Road this morning, and then piling up, spilling over onto Langata Road, unfortunately. The burning of those containers overnight and still into this morning. That is what's affecting traffic in that area today. Mombasa Road looking pretty clear now. It's not bumper to bumper anymore, where that was more issue previously. Thika Road also into the CBD is looking fine. Okay? All right. Through the day, talk to us. Tell us what you may see. Spice FMKE. That's how you can reach us on Twitter or text on 40127. But I don't think we'll have too many problems here moving forward until in the evening when everybody else is going home.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
Okay.
Mornings done right.
012 Roderick.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How is everyone?
Everyone is fine.
Everyone we have seen today is fine.
And everyone, meaning us, we're all fine.
Because you know the world is us and the world's city.
I want to approach this issue of Msambweni in two ways.
Okay. Yes.
One, I think Raila has a tendency of shooting himself in the leg very many times.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this Faisal guy, I think he was the one who was rigged out in the last ODM elections, and now the Tangatanga wing has taken him up and just to settle a score.
Mm-hmm.
And also, could it be the state needs maybe a scapegoat when campaigning for the BBI to make them versus us, them versus us versus them.
Mm.
This can be a bait also.
How?
How
exactly?
Launch full-blown campaign against the BBI because now they have seen that maybe now they have won this state.
So it's bait for them so that they can look at this and see, we
It
can
could be a
win.
bait also. You know, yes, Raila shot himself in the leg. I said, okay, now this one will shot himself in the leg, blah, blah, blah. But now, could it also be a bait? Now the Tanga wing on, okay, so we can do this thing, Then it becomes a full blown. Because I tend to think the BBI has a different logistical machinery and vicious spirit of the president himself. He's ready to lose a few souls if need be
to save the nation.
That it passes. Because BBI could have a 2020 kV live wire, you see.
But can I ask you a question? I'm dovetailing on what you've actually said, and those are interesting perspectives. Now, would you say that this is a test of, or is it Raila shooting himself in the foot again, or are we looking at a situation where Ali Hassan Joho's powers at the coast, as has been assumed, are diminishing, or perhaps they never really did exist?
You know, there are very many angles to this. There's the coastal region battle going on between the coastal kingpins, and also Raila again. I think Raila should have weighed the candidates. Even this guy was rigged out. They have made peace with this guy, but this guy was rigged out, and the enemies know about it, snapped him up, and snapped him up, and went against the wave of the ODM in Msambweni. But the thing is this. But I'm telling you to think. Raila has a way of reinventing himself. Even after he shoots himself in the leg, he reinvents himself.
He has
and he's
another
going
leg.
to reinvent himself. And they're going to use this thing as a bait.
That's an interesting
As a
angle
bait.
that
I'm
you
saying
bring.
that one. It might be used as a bait. So Tanga should be very careful. They might just walk into a landmine. Now without knowing. Because they're saying, okay, now it's up to them. You see, we have won this thing. We can take this battle to. But you see now, even the state now has lost a lot of wars in these small wars. I think it's now being put like the Tanga versus the BBI. You see, these wars, all of them, they've lost the war in Wundanyi, they've lost this one in Naivasha, everywhere. There have been losses everywhere, and now it's being portrayed as it's a BBI versus.
Yeah.
And this might make to think the Tanga makes Tanga think, okay, look here, I think we can win this thing. The ground is with us.
Alafu kumbe.
Alafu ikuwe ni mambo ingine. You never know.
It's a very interesting
But
angle.
just try and look at it.
We will try.
Just think about it. It might be a trap.
Thank you, Roderick. Thank you. Interesting angle there, because obviously, yes, the Tanga wing is bullish this morning. The number of wins that they've had across the country, from this parliamentary constituency to a number of civic wards where Tanga candidates or candidates sponsored by or campaigned by Tanga wing have won, and they could come out and think, wait.
You see there's a popular narrative that follows the narrative, the Ruto versus Raila narrative that we've had, and that is when something happens in political circles, you conclude that it is a mistake. And Roderick was wise in saying it may not be a mistake. Remember, we are talking about political activities. I can't even claim to understand the thinking behind ODM and how it is they did what they did, because indeed, if this gentleman was somebody who was in ODM, you think they don't know? They do know. So they must have a reason why it is they prefer the Boga. They must have a reason. Now, in the same way, we've seen people who have been in ODM, we've seen people who have been in Jubilee, we've seen people who have been in Wiper, who have moved from Wiper. We see this all the time. These movements are not new to our political parties. However, larger picture, influence of political parties in the regions that we speak of in this country. Is it waxing and waning? Are they losing ground to independent parties? Independent candidates, rather. If they're losing ground, even if it's steady, then it means that the change we're talking about is real. Because, for instance, the narrative has been that Ali Hassan Joho is the kingpin of the coast. That has been the narrative. Now, with this loss, is it that it's his image that is being dented? Or is it that it is ODM's image that is being dented? What is it? But then remember
the
also,
folks who are coming up and are not going to allow that sit there as the narrative.
I would throw in yet another narrative.
Yeah.
Omar Hassan, the gentleman who contested for the governorship. Now, his father is Digo. Kwale.
'Cause, 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 'cause
So one could even throw that discussion and say, oh, so is this a precursor of things to come in the contest for Mombasa County? All I'm saying is, it depends on who you are and what it is that you think will suit your purposes in terms of narratives. Yes.
Pick one.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
What color do
Choose
you like?
one and think which one will suit our purposes. Because in the political realm, you may think that Ali Hassan Joe has lost ground, and in essence, he may very well have lost ground there, but doesn't mean that he's going to lose ground tomorrow or the day after.
Yeah.
He may pick himself up, and he may change his whole way of doing things, and may even come out stronger than he was before. See, losses are not as negative as people assume. A loss is something that has happened, period. It may not necessarily reflect on what's going to happen next and the day after. What reflects is what is done after the loss or after the win.
That question that you're asking, whether now, because we are seeing the rise of independent candidates coming and clinching seats left, right, and center, and whether it's the waning fortunes of the political parties. Political parties didn't exist maybe in the first place. It was just a house of cards.
Yes.
It was the name Jubilee, name ODM, but the people are the ones who made it.
It is true.
So if you just look at it and people feel that's the reason why if ODM changed names today for some reason, this Chungwa swallows the dove of the Kieleweke side of Jubilee and they become a new outfit, call it whatever, it'll have its followers. It's not the ODM and what ODM stood for. It is what those at the top represent and who they align with at the grassroots.
Our politics is a lot simpler. It's not even who.
It's a person.
As in, yes, it's an individual. That individual essentially is the party. We can say all we like and talk about the independence of the party, the robust nature. You can say all you like.
Yeah.
But the question that I would ask when we have this discussion is, take, for instance, any party that you know of. Remove the leader. Not leadership, leader.
Yeah.
Remove. Now tell me, how well will that party fare?
That's it.
It's done.
It's poromokas.
Yes. Because if it can stand and become stronger, then that statement would hold sway. Then indeed, that political party would be a strong political party. Our political parties are the leaders of the political parties.
And so the alignment. So even an independent candidate, as long as they say that I am aligned to so and so, that's how they get elected by the people.
Actually, there's a consequence of this that perhaps is unintended, but is coming out. You see, the independent candidates follow that same trajectory of thought. Party leader, people follow leader, one person.
Yeah.
Independent leader, one person, people follow. So it's the same thinking, but I don't think it is discussed adequately. The independent candidate actually represents our political system to a T. Because this is somebody who is standing out and saying, it is I. And it is I who is seeking your vote. I may have supporters, but it is I. The affiliation may be people from other parties, but it is not the party, it is these people. So that discussion takes on a completely new twist and an interesting one.
Mimi mwenyewe binafsi.
Mimi mwenyewe binafsi, mimi na nafsi yangu.
Time for us to take a break. 9:45. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. 0719-012-600 and Spice FM KE on YouTube, on Facebook and Twitter. We'll be back shortly. So we're looking at this particular outcome of the Msambweni by-election and all the other by-elections in various wards across the country and what it means. We have seen in Msambweni, it's the independent candidate Faisal Bader, who has won with 15,251 against ODM's 10,444. Remember, this seat was previously held by an ODM MP. So ODM was out there campaigning and trying to secure this seat again, but it has lost to this independent candidate. Now, what's interesting is that the independent candidate was being supported by the governor of Kwale County, was also being supported by the leadership of the Tanga wing of Jubilee. What does this mean? Litmus test, as Raila called it, or not?
Spice FM.
It's getting hot in here. Oh, everybody steals. It's better a thief who brings something small back. And I say to myself, there's no better thief. A thief is a thief, period.
All those bribes, how much they're getting per year, how much inconvenience they're causing. As much as you call it a small case, it's worth it to be convicted.
The truth is, we are a
tribal nation. Because if we were not tribal, and I want to go back to this, you cannot continue walking around with a mug which is clean outside and it's rotten inside.
We have become a fuliza country. We have mortgaged our country because of debt.
You've got one chef working and the assistant chef wakati anatakana koroge unga nini hayuko.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice FM. Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM.
What is it?
No, I was simply looking at something, and a gentleman from my neck of the woods, we keep talking about the constituency of Msambweni, and what they've been hearing is Sambweni. The MW is silent.
So, okay. So this Sambweni place.
Yes.
Aye. At least they didn't hear Shambani.
Oh, wow.
Another day hear Pilipili.
Pilipili. That would have been different. So, the implication and the ramifications of this, national leadership had said this is an indicator of what the battle is going to look like. That comment that Roderick has made, look at it from the other side. We are seeing clearly that we are heading into a BBI referendum. BBI referendum, you want to whip people's emotions up so that they can come out and turn out to vote and vote for this BBI referendum. And then you're seeing like there's no strong opposition to it. And for you to be able to whip up people's emotions, you need to have a credible opposition or an enemy against whom people are coming out to vote. So maybe this is it, just trying to entrap the other side so they can feel we see what we can actually go out there and do this. Page 5 of The Nation today, and it's even featured on the front page as a mini headline. It's why Ruto will not oppose BBI, and it says the Tanga team has dropped its hardline stance, saying the 11 extra Mount Kenya constituencies could be a blessing. And it's quoting two of DP's allies, and this is Kapseret MP Oscar Sudi and his KO South counterpart Daniel Rono, who suggested that the proposal to give Mount Kenya 11 extra constituencies had made it politically untenable for Ruto to oppose BBI. The Tanga team was telling The Nation that BBI could be a blessing in disguise for Dr. Ruto in the 2022 State House bid, because it could make their work easier when forming a formidable coalition. BBI will help the DP advance his bid because you can pick a deputy president from one region and a prime minister from elsewhere. If you do not have Central Kenya or the Rift Valley, you cannot be a president of this country. If Ruto wants to be president, he needs Central. If he loses the region, he has to go for Nyanza because the two always vote as blocks. We can't oppose BBI because we are still comfortable with Mount Kenya. Central will help us in terms of constituencies.
The assumption here, from your reading, is that when you look at our politics, that there are certain givens which are a constant. Yes, they are, but only up to a point. Why am I saying this, Eric? I'm saying this because if you look at the voting patterns of our people, all right, the influence is not difficult to determine. However, when you listen to the utterances of politicians, no matter how strong they sound, no matter how forcible they seem to be, I have been of the position and I will maintain it. It's a negotiation. What has honestly fundamentally changed that would make these MPs whose positions were really strong and strongly stated, and they aren't the only ones. Now, to make this even more interesting, did we not read and have we not read about members of parliament coming from the ODM party themselves wanting to contribute to changes in the BBI? What does it tell you? Let us understand political speak and let us understand how it is interpreted. When politicians speak, please do not take anything they say at face value. Because it never is at face value. And remember that the politicians we speak of in this country, the top ones, at some point or the other, they have all been in the same party. They've all been somewhere together. So the reality is that these differences we speak of, these differences are merely spoken of. In reality, they don't actually exist. Not in reality, they don't.
So there is a chance that here you are throwing your allegiance behind somebody based on the fact that they've had a political tiff with somebody else.
Yes.
Where in reality, these two fellows are actually not fighting.
No.
And here you've thrown your entire allegiance to
Yes.
So then I think what it would require then is it really would inquire intelligent decision making on the part of every Kenyan.
Or an extremely flexible backbone.
Yeah, right. It can't just be, all right, somebody has said this and then you go with it.
No.
Because you really don't know until you know. With the games in the political games in this country, you really don't know until you know. Just like you're saying, somebody will come and say something to you today, and you're going to make a decision based on what they have said, and then in a 3 months down the line, they're saying something totally different. Meanwhile, you've made your decision based on something they said to you on the 16th of December.
Politicians, Somalia, we are being told, are amassing their troops on our border, Mandera. That's the report we hear of. Usually, when you hear of such talk, it means people are gearing up for war. Is Somalia gearing up for war with Kenya? The answer is no.
No.
Precisely. So what do you think they are doing? What are they actually doing? They are making a statement. Because if you take that, should we say independent of everything else that's happening, they've asked for a conversation with
Kenya.
Yes, but it's one. I'm trying fill in the blanks with this body. African body.
IGAD.
When I go and then I do this, you're supposed to have said yes, IGAD.
Oh, I should have said IGAD the first time. Okay, sorry,
yes,
IGAD.
Exactly.
IGAD.
Yes.
Okay.
That's the conversation we're having. Okay. So they're having a conversation with
IGAD.
See, now you've got it.
I've fallen in line.
At the same time, they have told our diplomatic corps to
step out.
Yes,
leave
exactly.
The country.
Yes, and they have told their ambassador to
leave.
Okay. Now, see, now we have a conversation
it's
going.
working well.
Yeah, we have a conversation going. You have to look at all these things and ask yourself, okay, it's not one thing happening. All these things are happening. It isn't as though a door has been shut. The moment you want a conversation with IGAD, you want a conversation. It's a conversation. Then alongside that, we have the Prime Minister of a neighboring country called
Ethiopia.
Okay. You guys are getting this thing right.
Done.
Yes. So all these things have to be looked at, and you have to ask yourself, because this is a political realm we're speaking of here, what really is happening here? Because Ethiopia, it isn't as though it's all blossom and cherry. Ethiopia has issues. The government of Somalia has issues. Well, we also have our issues. But we seem to be at the center stage of a lot of activity. Now, in looking at that, I'm not saying I have a response to what I'm asking. I'm simply saying these are things you need to look at. So when you bring it home to a national level where our politicians are having a conversation, you must really ask that same question. What really is happening in this political sphere in which we live in? What's really happening? What's being negotiated for?
Well, I think for the longest
what is being hoped for? Yes.
For the longest time, politicians have banked on the fact that Kenyans won't ask these questions. They've banked on the fact that they will come out and they will say something and Kenyans will just take it up, as it is.
Or just conclude.
Or conclude based on what they have said. But I think times are changing, and now you hear that. And folks are not just going to come, face value, take it, go. No. People are going to ask the questions, and then they're going to ask themselves, what has this individual done vis-a-vis the one who I can see, right? Or where are they taking us? What trends are forming? But then it does call for really intelligent decision-making here. And everybody's going to think that intelligence means you have to have been surrounded by the four walls of a university. No, not necessarily. You need to now look and see what is actually happening on the ground. On the ground, like even what Roderick said, on the ground. What is the situation? Is it different from what people are saying when they stand behind the podium? Absolutely. So it really calls on people to be really intelligent about what it is that is being said to you. How are you taking it? And what are you using it to do in terms of decision making? It can't just be the way it was.
Contextualizing interpretation. For instance, those who are believers in the good book, the Bible, when it says, for instance, if your eye offends you, I've never quite understood it. So,
Take it out.
is it looking at things it shouldn't look at, independent of you, meaning you want it to look somewhere, it's looking elsewhere? Is it itching constantly? Take it. It doesn't mean literally, for heaven's sake, if your eye is itching, pluck it out. It doesn't mean that.
No?
No, not really. It doesn't.
How do you know?
Again, I'm delighted that you've asked that question, because now it's a question of interpretation. Because if everybody removed an itching eye, can you remember how many one-eyed individuals we have on this planet?
Maybe that was the intention of the person who was saying this thing.
Now, exactly. Now, if it wasn't open to interpretations, then our preachers wouldn't really have a job, would they?
They wouldn't.
Yes. Because they are the ones who know how to explain to you and contextualize it and tell you this is what it means, this is how it... And you're talking about political leadership. People assume that when someone who is aligned to a party says something, the party leader is saying it. Not necessarily. Even individuals in the party have their own interests. And sometimes people in leadership allow things to play out. Yes, you want to make a decision, by all means, please. You're in charge. Carry on. Let's see how this works out. All in all, what I'm saying is, whenever we are discussing politics, and we're discussing the details therein, we must understand it is politics we're discussing. It's not a religious activity. It's not a social activity. It is politics.
So to say, hivyo ni siasa.
Ni siasa. It has its norms, and it has the norms by which you understand it.
You know, the reason I'm quiet like that is because I'm just replaying what we were talking about earlier in normalizing the bad manners of politics and excusing them and saying it's politics. If you were to look at it from that lens, that this is politics, and then this is what happens. So if we start compartmentalizing things and saying this is politics, look at it from that,
and it is
politics. But then does that thing that we are calling politics have any bearing to everything else around?
It does. It does. It does.
Should it operate within its own rules, or should it operate within universal rules?
It already does. It takes bits from other rules, but it operates within its rules. Now, if you're talking about the responsibility the individual takes, the only way politicians change is when they realize that whatever they do doesn't have traction. They do a real complete about turn.
Immediately.
They will do an about turn, because the currency and the strength of their utterance and what they do has to be how it resonates with the public. If the lies are being absorbed, you will lie a little more. The moment it is clear it is rejected and people don't like it, you will do a twist and a turn, and it will be immediate.
Tell a different lie.
Now, that is why the public ought to understand they do have power, and they can implement that power.
Okay. Today's proverb.
An elephant does not limp when walking on thorns. They just walk on the thorns. And also, elephants sometimes consider thorns to be food. Just so that you understand. So, they're not going to limp. Are they?
Just step on the food.
Yes. As they go to other foods.
Why did you pick this proverb?
I picked up this proverb because, remember the saying that we have the shoe pinchers. It's the wearer. Okay? Sometimes the wearer is accustomed to the pinching, so it's not a bother to them. But it is a bother to the person who's looking, who has experienced pain, or who is experiencing it for the first time. Again, I always juxtapose with the political scenario. The deafness and the insensitivity that we sometimes attribute to politicians is simply because the thorns of the problems that the Mwananchi faces, they don't necessarily face it directly. So they don't relate to it. So they just continue stomping and moving forward. Yes.
Asante sana. Thank you for tuning in to the Situation Room this Tuesday. Join us again tomorrow, Wednesday.
What's really wrong with you?
Wednesday is actually, believe it or not, today.
No, please leave Eric alone.
Okay, it's the 16th day of December. So tomorrow is going to be Thursday.
The 17th.
And then Friday.
Yeah. The 18th.
And then kidogo Christmas. Kidogo 2021. But we'll be here tomorrow, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Nduo, Coast City, Muga, and Eric Latif wishing you a lovely day. Good morning. It's 10 o'clock.